Chapter 2081. Enemies always cross paths. The information about the disappearance of the Qinghe race became increasingly exaggerated as it spread among the various races. The news reached beyond the domain, with all sorts of speculations, but none could be confirmed as the definitive answer. The only person who knew the truth was Lin Moyu. Even the human Saint Sovereigns could only guess. The House Saint Sovereign was the first to guess because Lin Moyu had told him before setting out that he was going to the outer region and had given him a rough location. From the route, it was clear that Lin Moyu would pass through the Qinghe race's territory. So the House Saint Sovereign was 80% sure that Lin Moyu was responsible for this. However, he couldn't understand why the stars had disappeared. He instinctively felt that Lin Moyu couldn't have done this alone. But thinking about Lin Moyu's past deeds, he felt it wasn't impossible. Lin Moyu sat in the warship, officially entering the outer region. The boundary between the inner and outer regions was a void about 100 light-years wide. The void was like a bubble, firmly enveloping the inner space, known as the boundary zone. The laws in the inner region were stronger, while those in the outer region were much weaker. The further one went from the inner region, the weaker the laws became, affecting the speed of cultivation to some extent. Therefore, the outer region was not suitable for cultivation, only for training and exploration. The warship surfaced into the outer space layer. In the boundary zone, the laws would change, making it impossible for the warship to navigate in deep space. Lin Moyu felt the changes in the laws, the undying law, time law, and space law were all slightly affected. The most affected was the starlight law. He had been using the starlight refining method, which originally took 10 days to condense a star. Once he left the inner region, the efficiency of the starlight refining method greatly decreased, taking at least 10 more days to condense a star. As he moved further away, the efficiency of the starlight refining method would continue to decrease until it became ineffective. Lin Moyu observed this special area. In his perception, the entire greater world had the inner region as its center, where the power of the greater world rune was most concentrated. The outer region was a space that the greater world continuously expanded into, swallowing the origins of many other worlds to grow itself. For countless years, the greater world had been expanding, growing larger and larger. It was like a balloon being continuously inflated, unable to stop. Until the balloon reached its limit and finally exploded. The greater world was now close to its limit. If it couldn't stop, it would eventually explode. Lin Moyu knew that stopping was impossible. The only solution was to find a way to stabilize the balloon to prevent it from exploding. The warship flew through the boundary zone for a while. In a few days, it would cross the boundary and enter the true outer region. Last time, he had entered the outer region due to a space disturbance and was then sent back to the inner region by Luo Shen, without entering the boundary zone. It is said that the boundary zone was once a battlefield, with many hidden dangers. Now it has become a paradise for star beasts, home to countless star beasts. Human god sovereigns often disappear here, so I must be careful. Lin Moyu summoned a skeleton general and activated the soul eye to look into the void. Soul flames lit up one by one. Although not dense, there were more than 100 in his sight. Each soul flame was extremely powerful, at least at the god sovereign level. One of them was particularly large, surpassing the god sovereign level and reaching the other shore realm. Lin Moyu was shocked. In this dark void, so many star beasts were hidden. No wonder people say the boundary zone is a paradise for star beasts. In just this area, there are over 1,000 star beasts, most of them at the god sovereign level, with many high-tier god sovereigns, and even some at the other shore realm. In terms of numbers, the god sovereign level star beasts outnumber the human god sovereigns. Lin Moyu was slightly shocked, recalling the scene in the dark void. If the experts from the Black Blood realm invaded and controlled all these star beasts, it would be a terrifying disaster for the human race. But on second thought, it didn't seem to matter. As long as he was there, no matter how many star beasts there were, it wouldn't matter. Using corpse explosion, these star beasts would become his weapons. If anyone dared to use star beasts against the human race, the result would be very satisfying. The warship silently flew through the starry sky, and Lin Moyu avoided these star beasts. Although he wasn't afraid, there was no need to provoke them. In just an hour of flight, Lin Moyu saw no fewer than 10,000 god sovereign level star beasts, and even some at the other shore realm. This was just a small distance, not even 1/10,000th of the entire boundary zone. Calculating this way, the number of star beasts would be incredibly frightening. Lin Moyu suddenly sensed a familiar aura, and his eyes became sharp. A soul flame entered his sight, at the other shore realm, but clearly injured and somewhat unstable. Starry Sky Giant Tree. Lin Moyu sensed the aura of the Starry Sky Giant Tree. The last time he encountered a star beast was in the small world. Lin Moyu knew he wasn't mistaken. The one he encountered today was the same as back then. The mark left by the Starry Sky Giant Tree had long been removed, but it couldn't escape Lin Moyu's keen soul perception. Enemies always cross paths. Should I kill him? Lin Moyu knew the Starry Sky Giant Tree had once come to the human race and was later driven away by the House Saint Sovereign, fleeing in panic. With the space law, even the House Saint Sovereign found it hard to kill him. Now, after so long, his injuries were still not healed. If he wanted to kill him, it was indeed a good opportunity. But with so many star beasts around, if he attacked, would it cause a star beast riot? On second thought, Lin Moyu's lips curled into a cruel smile. Actually, a riot wouldn't be a bad thing. The more star beasts that come, the more advantageous it is for me. Before Lin Moyu could decide, the soul flame of the star beast suddenly boiled. All humans deserve to die. Space trembled, and the roar of the Starry Sky Giant Tree echoed in his mind. Lin Moyu's soul world was impacted, but fortunately, it was strong enough to withstand it. If it were another god sovereign, just this roar would have injured them. From the Starry Sky Giant Tree's words, Lin Moyu immediately understood his meaning. This guy had been injured by the House Saint Sovereign, hiding here to heal, and blamed all his hatred on the human race. It seems I can't let him live. Lin Moyu made up his mind to kill the Starry Sky Giant Tree today and end this karma. Boom! Several thick vines tore through the starry sky, whipping towards him with a roar. The Starry Sky Giant Tree, tens of thousands of kilometers away, launched an attack on Lin Moyu. His attack carried the space law, instantly crossing the starry sky and smashing towards the warship. If hit, the warship would likely be damaged again. Damn it! Without thinking, Lin Moyu put away the warship. The newly repaired warship couldn't be easily damaged. Then Lin Moyu took a step and instantly disappeared into the starry sky. The Starry Sky Giant Tree's attack missed, making it even more furious. In that instant, it saw Lin Moyu clearly. It's you, it's actually you. Ha ha ha, you actually came out. You're dead, I will grind your bones to dust. The Starry Sky Giant Tree's voice was filled with joy. It also instantly disappeared into the starry sky, using the space law to quickly catch up with Lin Moyu, its vines whipping down madly. Chapter 2082. Chapter 2082. You can do it, I can do it too, each losing 800. The cosmic tree also possessed the space rule, appearing even more powerful than Lin Moyu. It caught up to Lin Moyu almost instantly, its vines lashing out frantically. Lin Moyu disappeared again with another step. This time, Lin Moyu took 3 steps in succession, crossing billions of kilometers, but the cosmic tree followed closely like a shadow, relentlessly pursuing. I didn't expect you to know the space rule too. It's useless, you can't escape. The cosmic tree's voice carried a hint of surprise at Lin Moyu also possessing the space rule. However, it could see that Lin Moyu's space rule was still very weak, not as strong as its own. It pursued even more frantically, closing in step by step. The mark placed on Lin Moyu allowed it to instantly catch up no matter where he fled. Lin Moyu didn't speak, but a sigil array appeared in his hand, the containment array. After another teleportation, he activated the array simultaneously. Just as the cosmic tree appeared, the array enveloped it from all directions. The containment array could not only contain all things, but also trap enemies. The internal space of the containment array was extremely vast, capable of taking in entire star systems, let alone the cosmic tree. Lin Moyu's timing was extremely precise. The containment array activated just as the cosmic tree appeared, before it could react. The cosmic tree vanished from space, and Lin Moyu revealed a slight smile. I'll use you to test the enemy trapping effect of the containment array. The containment array was very useful, and the Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's decree gave the array multiple effects. Lin Moyu had already tried the containment effect, but he didn't know how well it could trap enemies. Lin Moyu didn't leave, but waited quietly. The containment array flickered in space, and began to shake after 10 seconds. Lin Moyu said softly, it seems the containment array can't hold for too long. He wasn't in a hurry, wanting to see the limits of the containment array. The shaking became more violent, and after 20 seconds, the containment array collapsed with a boom. 20 seconds. It can trap a being at the other shore realm for 20 seconds. Not bad. When my realm is higher, the containment array will become stronger too. The escaped cosmic tree immediately found Lin Moyu, and was very shocked to discover he hadn't fled. You didn't run away. In its thinking, Lin Moyu would definitely have escaped during the time it was trapped. It didn't expect Lin Moyu to not run, but just wait for it like this. For a moment, the cosmic tree was puzzled, not knowing what Lin Moyu was planning. But the next second, its rationality was again obscured by anger and hatred. Back in the small world, it had been on the verge of obtaining Antares' dragon pearl, only to be thwarted by Lin Moyu in the end. Not only that, its soul had been attacked. How could it endure such humiliation? Later it was injured by Saint Venerable How while searching for Lin Moyu. All its hatred erupted at this moment, with only one thought, to kill Lin Moyu. Seal. The cosmic tree's entire body glowed, and an invisible aura spread outwards, instantly sweeping across billions of miles of space. The cosmic tree used its space rule to seal off space. At this moment, Lin Moyu lost his ability to teleport. The cosmic tree roared, "Your space rule is ineffective now. You can't escape." Its vines danced again, lashing out at Lin Moyu with frenzied force. Lin Moyu calmly pointed a finger, and an undead army appeared in space, densely packed death dragon knights surrounding the cosmic tree on all sides. The vines were blocked, striking the death dragon knights. The golden armor sigils were torn apart like paper, and the death dragon knights collapsed on the spot, only to swiftly revive. The encirclement remained intact, not the least bit disordered. Over 100 legion rulers appeared in the innermost layer, simultaneously raising their battle blades to deliver a fatal strike. This strike from the legion rulers was equivalent to a full power attack from a peak divine venerable, and could inflict some damage on the cosmic tree. Large numbers of vines were severed under the battle blades. The cosmic tree sensed danger and instinctively tried to flee. But at this moment, it suddenly discovered that its own teleportation had also become ineffective. The legion rulers' battle blades fell on the tree trunk simultaneously. Bark flew everywhere as wounds appeared all over the trunk. Sap flowed from the wounds, looking horrific but actually just superficial injuries. Lin Moyu stood at a distance, coldly observing, sealing space, not just you can do it, I can too. When the cosmic tree used seal space, Lin Moyu was affected and unable to teleport. Lin Moyu also used seal space, likewise sealing the cosmic tree's teleportation ability. Both possessed the space rule and sealed space simultaneously. Each losing 800, neither gained an advantage. Damn it! The cosmic tree was furious. The severed vines rapidly regrew, sweeping about wildly. The legion rulers were sent flying by the vines, severely injured. Large swaths of death dragon knights were killed again, but the next second the legion rulers healed themselves and charged back into battle. The pulverized death dragon knights also revived once more. The entire undead army was like cockroaches that couldn't be killed, dying over and over, living again and again. Lin Moyu watched the encirclement form. This will do. He pointed a finger, and the bone hell appeared, enveloping the cosmic tree. The bone hell was smashed to pieces in an instant, but its task was already complete, the mark had been placed. Lin Moyu locked onto the cosmic tree, and undying flames blazed in space. The skull throne appeared, and 5 skull kings rose from the throne. Crimson cloaks burned with raging flames as the skull throne transformed into a giant bone sword. The skull kings raised the bone sword. Spell, God Slayer. Sword light flashed, accompanied by the cosmic tree's agonized screams. A huge wound appeared on its trunk, with large amounts of bark and flesh exploding outwards. The Skull Kings were now at the half-step other shore realm in strength. Their rule power was formidable, and even though slightly weaker than the cosmic tree, they could still wound it. Green light blossomed on the cosmic tree's body as wood elements surged madly, repairing the wound. As a plant-type other shore realm cosmic beast, its vitality was unimaginably strong. Moreover, the cosmic tree itself could manipulate wood elements, making it even more troublesome than ordinary plant-type cosmic beasts. The wound inflicted by the Skull Kings was visibly healing at a rapid pace. Then, the cosmic tree began to grow larger. Its body was originally only a few thousand meters tall, even smaller than the Skull Kings. But now, its body began to expand frantically, with vines growing thicker and longer. Lin Moyu recalled what Antares had once said. A true God realm cosmic tree could reach a height of 10 million meters for its true form. At the God King realm it could grow another tenfold, and at Divine Venerable realm it would be even larger. As for the other shore realm, At the other shore realm, it could freely control its size at will. Just like the Skull Kings, at God King realm they were 100,000 meters tall, but at Divine Venerable realm they had shrunk to 10,000 meters instead. The cosmic tree rapidly expanded, its aura constantly strengthening. In the blink of an eye, it grew from a few thousand meters to a colossus 1,000,000 meters tall. Enormous vines swept across space, with vast power permeating the cosmos. The Death Dragon Knight army was instantly swept away and collapsed. Very strong, Lin Moyu muttered to himself. The cosmic tree was even more powerful than the Copper Lizard King. Its massive size gave it terrifying destructive power. Countless vines were like countless weapons sweeping across space. The Skull Kings swung their swords, unleashing myriad sword lights to sever large numbers of vines. The space beside Lin Moyu suddenly split open as a vine lashed out from behind. Lin Moyu sensed it immediately. The golden sword appeared in his hand. The golden sword wove a golden shield to block the sneak attack from the vine. Then ancient jade tablets appeared in Lin Moyu's hand, 10 drops of rainbow water, 100,000 portions of belief power. His aura rose in tandem. Origin spell. Gather power. Chapter 2083. 2083. Chapter 2083. Physical body, soul, and mind, triple attack. Ji Yu Fu punched out, and the aura of the other shore realm made the cosmic tree feel threatened. The million-meter-high tree body shook violently, and numerous vines and branches grew out, entwined with the power of rules, lashing towards Ji Yu Fu's punch. Lin Moyu's finger lightly tapped, and red light exploded. A cry of pain came from the cosmic tree, and its movements paused. Lin Moyu did not stop. Flames burned in the starry sky, and a terrifying giant eye opened. The eye of the undead gazed over, and the soul attack heavily struck the cosmic tree. The cosmic tree screamed again, and its movements became stiff. 2 soul impacts could not cause it much harm, only interrupt its attack, but that was enough. The Soul Slayer's sword followed closely behind the eye of the undead, launching the 3rd soul attack. Lin Moyu did not have time to add rainbow water and belief power to the Soul Slayer's sword. The 3 soul attacks came one after another, within less than half a second, and their effect on the cosmic tree would not last more than a second. In that second, Ji Yu Fu's punch shattered numerous vines and reached the cosmic tree. Ji Yu Fu's punch landed on it, penetrating its body and then exploding inside. A large hole was blasted in the massive tree body, almost cutting it in half. Green light flickered, and the vast wood element rules surged, trying to heal the wound. However, the wound was entangled with a large amount of undead rules, and the power of death was corroding the wound, making its recovery very slow. When Ji Yu Fu's punch was triggered, Lin Moyu used a large amount of death power. He temporarily elevated to the peak Divine Venerable level with the help of origin spells, also gaining some rule power. Coupled with the inherent strength of the undead rules, even the cosmic tree would need some time to clear it. 5 3-like talismans flew out, activating simultaneously, and landed on the 5 Skull Kings. Under the effect of the 3-like talismans, the time flow for the Skull Kings changed. 1 second in the real world became 3 seconds for the Skull Kings. The attack frequency of the Skull Kings instantly tripled, and sword lights fell like a storm, cutting countless vines and reaching the cosmic tree. In an instant, tens of thousands of sword slashes fell, creating numerous wounds on the tree body, and countless pieces of tree flesh were cut off. The cosmic tree frantically shook its body, and new vines grew from the places attacked by the Skull Kings, whipping at the Skull Kings. The sturdy bodies of the Skull Kings were whipped out with countless cracks, on the verge of collapse. A row of Legion rulers stood behind Lin Moyu, healing the Skull Kings. The cosmic tree drew out more vines, binding the Skull Kings and making it difficult for them to move. Then the vines exerted force, severely injuring the Skull Kings, shattering them on the spot, leaving the Legion rulers no time to heal them. But in the next second, the Skull Kings revived and continued their fierce attack on the cosmic tree. The cosmic tree was going crazy, it couldn't kill the Skull Kings. Not only the Skull Kings, but the Undead Legion was also endless, reviving after being killed. The Soul Slayer's sword returned, and Lin Moyu took out 100 drops of rainbow water and 1,000,000 portions of belief power, pushing the power of the Soul Slayer's sword to the limit. The Soul Slayer's sword struck again, launching a soul attack, followed by the cosmic tree's scream. This soul attack was much stronger than the previous ones, almost shattering the cosmic tree's soul world. The soul was severely injured, and the cosmic tree angrily whipped at Lin Moyu. The vines broke through the space barrier and appeared in front of Lin Moyu in an instant. Lin Moyu did not dodge, relying on the golden sword to firmly block the vines. The golden shield twisted under the attack, but it seemed it could hold on for a few more seconds. The Skull Kings, once again shattered, did not revive and disappeared simultaneously. In the next second, Lin Moyu summoned the Skull Kings again. The Skull Throne appeared in the flames, and the Skull Kings rose, swinging their swords to block the vine attack for Lin Moyu. The aura of origin spells rose again on Lin Moyu. Origin spell. Strengthen soldiers. The damage of the Undead Legion increased tenfold, and their combat power greatly enhanced. Then came the Rainbow Water and Belief power. Lin Moyu had used this tactic many times, always effective. With 2 origin spells activated, Lin Moyu also raised the Golden Sword. Spell. God Slayer. The second God Slayer was 10 times more powerful than the first. The cosmic tree bristled, sensing extreme danger. The power of space flowed down, forming a space barrier around it, trying to use space rules to block Lin Moyu's attack. But the God Slayer sword ignored the space barrier, directly exploding on the cosmic tree. The sword light shone like a star, then exploded. Boom! 6 huge holes were blasted in the cosmic tree, almost piercing its massive body. The wood element rules surged madly, trying to heal the wounds, but the effect was poor. The cosmic tree enlarged its body, its power increasing accordingly, but its defense remained unchanged. Lin Moyu's eyes sparkled. The cosmic tree's space rules had not evolved into space principles. Moreover, its space rules were not strong, only slightly stronger than his own. Even Yu Qingru's mastery of space rules was stronger than the cosmic tree's. The cosmic tree was born with 2 rules, wood element rules and space rules. The wood element rules were strong and had been converted into rule power. In comparison, its space rules were weak and had not been converted into space principles. Why was this? It was very unreasonable. Lin Moyu thought of the Starry Sky Merman clan. The Starry Sky Merman clan did not allow others to comprehend space rules that was their exclusive domain. The Starry Sky Merman clan had a causal treasure that could remotely lock onto enemies and attack. If the cosmic tree could not enhance its space rules, it was likely related to the Starry Sky Merman clan. Lin Moyu's aura gradually weakened, his soul power exhausted, and the origin spells disappeared. Lin Moyu's eyes turned slightly, with a hint of mockery. It seems you are really stupid, unable to comprehend stronger space rules. The cosmic tree roared in anger. Bastard, you don't understand at all. Lin Moyu said, you possess space rules but can't comprehend them. What a waste. Your wisdom is only slightly better than a beast's. Space rules on you are simply an insult. Lin Moyu's words were extremely mocking, making the cosmic tree even angrier, and its attacks became more frenzied. The wood element rules erupted, evolving countless cosmic trees in the starry sky, all constructed from rule power. These cosmic trees had the combat power of high-level divine venerables. Lin Moyu shook his head, competing in numbers. You're far behind. With a thought, billions of skeleton gods charged out, filling the starry sky and surrounding the cosmic tree again. The cosmic trees evolved from wood element rules were also submerged by the skeleton gods, unable to make any waves. The cosmic tree was furious. Since the battle with Lin Moyu began, it had never gained the upper hand. Not only was it injured, its soul in great pain, and its wounds difficult to heal, but it also had no way to deal with Lin Moyu. The endless sea of skeletons alone was enough to kill it for a long time. Now, Lin Moyu was insulting it with words, uncovering its deepest scars. It roared irrationally, you know nothing. The more you comprehend space rules, the faster you die. Lin Moyu knew from its reaction that his guess was correct. It must have been targeted by the Starry Sky Merman clan. If it continued to comprehend space rules, the Saint Venerable of the Starry Sky Merman clan would personally find it. The cosmic tree roared in anger, issuing one roar after another. The sound shook the space, spreading billions of miles, awakening one powerful cosmic tree after another. Chapter 2084, 2084. Chapter 2084. Stunned by the explosion. Tens of thousands of cosmic beasts awakened and rushed towards Lin Moyu. There must be a reason why the cosmic tree chose to recover here. Countless cosmic beasts live in the boundary region. If most cosmic beasts weren't mindless, they could probably form a whole new race. Lin Moyu had even thought of a name for them, the beast race. Now the reaction of the cosmic beasts confirmed Lin Moyu's guess. The cosmic tree hid here so it could summon large numbers of cosmic beasts if in danger. Among these cosmic beasts were many at the peak divine venerable level. Even those at the other shore realm would have a headache facing them. With so many cosmic beasts plus its own space rules, even if a Saint Venerable came, it could retreat with ease. Lin Moyu's eyes flashed. This is exactly what I want. He deliberately insulted the cosmic tree for this moment. Lin Moyu was very clear about his own strength. Defeating someone at the other shore realm wasn't difficult, but killing them was not easy. Unless that other shore realm being just stood there letting him kill it. When the Copper Lizard King fled that day, it became difficult to kill it. The current cosmic tree was the same. If it really wanted to escape, it wouldn't be easy for him to kill it. Especially since it was a plant-type cosmic beast, with incredibly strong vitality and regeneration. After some thought, Lin Moyu found two ways to kill it. The first was to use his trump cards, which wasn't worth it, so he abandoned that idea. The second was to use corpse explosion again, but he didn't have enough corpses on hand to guarantee killing the cosmic tree. Since there weren't enough, he'd just borrow some more corpses. There were so many cosmic beasts here, all excellent materials. Now, large numbers of cosmic beasts were coming, exactly as Lin Moyu had anticipated. With a thought, the bone hell appeared, enveloping the charging cosmic beasts. Hell fiends flew out madly, attacking the cosmic beasts. The cosmic beasts instinctively counterattacked, quickly getting marked. Lin Moyu took out a divine venerable corpse. I'll use these cosmic beasts to send you off. The cosmic tree was now surrounded by skeleton divine generals, unable to see what Lin Moyu was doing. But for some reason, it vaguely felt something was wrong, as if it had made a terrible mistake. Boom! An explosion shook the cosmos and souls. With just one divine venerable corpse, Lin Moyu killed 8 cosmic beasts. The power of corpse explosion is determined by the corpse's level in life, but his talent provided a bonus, often allowing it to kill across realms. Upgraded to the white star level, corpse explosion ignored time and space. As long as the target was locked on, it would be hit no matter how far away. Boom boom boom. Explosions continued non-stop, the entire cosmos shaking. The explosions became more and more frequent, endless. What's happening? What's going on? The cosmic tree was stunned amid the explosions. It frantically swept the cosmos, the skeleton divine generals dying and reviving and dying again. In any case, the encirclement didn't budge an inch, absolutely not letting it leave. Death Dragon Knights charged, crashing into it recklessly. Even if they were smashed to pieces, they showed no fear. Their level was lower, so the damage was small, but there were too many of them. The cosmic tree wanted to break out of the encirclement, but was pushed back again and again. The rumbling continued, getting faster and faster. Dozens of explosions could be heard every second, along with the faint screams of cosmic beasts. The cosmic tree finally realized that the cosmic beasts it summoned were being slaughtered. Every time an explosion sounded, several cosmic beasts would die. The cosmic tree finally remembered something: its avatar had also been blown up in that small world before. An increasingly bad feeling grew stronger. Boom! Another explosion, large amounts of bark and flesh blown away. The cosmic tree shook all over and screamed in agony. This explosion landed on itself, with power close to another shore realm attack. Then explosions occurred one after another, each very powerful. The cosmic tree screamed non-stop, its vines constantly blown off, wounds all over its body. Lin Moyu worked with both hands, multitasking to detonate corpse after corpse. The cosmic tree was engulfed in explosions, its aura rapidly weakening, injuries growing more severe. In the blink of an eye, most of its dense branches had been blown off, looking somewhat bare. Green sap flew wildly through space, its huge body covered in wounds, appearing somewhat incomplete. The cosmic tree finally couldn't bear it anymore. Its space rules erupted fully, tearing space apart. The cosmic tree's branches all snapped off at once, its body shrinking back to 1,000 meters. The cosmic tree crashed into the torn space, instantly fleeing. It traversed hundreds of millions of kilometers in an instant, appearing far away and fleeing rapidly. Lin Moyu didn't pursue. Space was still sealed here, so he couldn't use space rules. The cosmic tree was able to traverse space because it paid a huge price. Lin Moyu could sense that after tearing space, its aura had sharply weakened. Due to the Starry Sky Merman clan, the cosmic tree had never been able to cultivate its space rules, not much stronger than Lin Moyu's. It forcefully erupted its space rules to tear space, inevitably paying a price. Watching the cosmic tree flee into the distance, Lin Moyu smiled coldly. You can't escape. There were still over 10,000 cosmic beast corpses before him. The strongest were peak divine venerables, with many high-level divine venerables. More than enough to blow up the cosmic tree. But to be safe, Lin Moyu activated the origin spell, strengthened soldiers again. Damage amplified 10 times, as a final insurance. White star level spell, corpse explosion. The cosmic tree fled far away. Seeing Lin Moyu hadn't pursued, it finally breathed a sigh of relief. All the branches on its body had broken off, even its soul somewhat damaged. Forcefully erupting space rules to tear the sealed space indeed cost a lot. It would take several hundred to 1,000 years to recover. I won't let you go, absolutely not. From now on, this lord will kill any human I see. Its hatred for Lin Moyu had seeped into its bones, extending to the entire human race. Just as it was thinking this, a sense of danger suddenly descended, then exploded on its body. Explosions came one after another, engulfing it once more. The cosmic tree was completely stunned. It had clearly fled far away, why was it still being attacked? It used space rules again, continuing to flee, instantly leaving hundreds of millions of kilometers behind. But all along the way, the explosions never stopped. Even as it was teleporting, the explosions continued non-stop. It fled further and further, but no matter where it went, the attacks followed like a shadow. Explosions kept occurring on its body. Its bark had been completely blown off. Now with each explosion, flesh and blood were sent flying. Green sap trailed through space everywhere. The cosmic tree wanted to cry. Its injuries grew more and more severe, consciousness starting to blur. Why is this happening? It really didn't understand what method Lin Moyu was using. It had clearly escaped over 100 million kilometers, not even seeing Lin Moyu's shadow anymore. Why was it still being attacked? And the attack intensity was even more terrifying than before. Its body collapsed, the 1,000-meter body breaking apart, less than 100 meters remaining. The tree core was exposed, this was its nucleus, usually very well protected. But now it had no strength left to protect it. The cosmic tree was finally on the verge of death, barely conscious. At this moment, the explosions finally stopped. The cosmic tree's consciousness was blurring. It lay motionless in space. Nearby cosmic beasts seemed to smell something, awakening one after another and flying towards the cosmic tree. Chapter 2085, 2085. Chapter 2085. This is the Great World. The cosmic tree realized this, and its heart filled with despair. It was at the other shore realm, and its flesh held great allure for other cosmic beasts. Usually when it was strong, the cosmic beasts revered it and obeyed its commands. Now that it had become weak and on the verge of death, those cosmic beasts would devour it and eat it up. There were countless cosmic beasts, with powerful strength, but they lacked intelligence. Only a few cosmic beasts could awaken intelligence and think and grow like other living beings. The vast majority of cosmic beasts only acted on instinct. It watched helplessly as large numbers of cosmic beasts flew over from all directions, their eyes filled with undisguised greed. The cosmic tree could only watch them approach, bringing death. Boom! An explosion sounded, and the cosmic tree heard screams as cosmic beasts were blasted away. Then it saw the undead army, blocking all the approaching cosmic beasts. Explosions continued non-stop, and those cosmic beasts were instantly blown to death, not a single one remaining. Lin Moyu appeared before the cosmic tree, looking at it coldly. Any last words? As someone he had known since the small world, Lin Moyu didn't mind letting it leave some last words before death. The cosmic tree seemed to have lost its anger, its voice becoming calm. Facing death, there was nothing it couldn't let go of. No last words. I just can't accept why I had to encounter you. From the small world until now, how many years have passed? Why have you become so strong? But you won't live much longer either. As long as you continue cultivating the space rule, someone will come to kill you. It's a Saint Venerable, you can't escape. Lin Moyu shook his head. You don't even know who's stopping you from cultivating the space rule. How pitiful. The cosmic tree's soul flickered a few times. You know. Lin Moyu said, I know. And they've already made a move against me, but they failed. They can't stop me. The cosmic tree's voice became agitated again, roaring, impossible, absolutely impossible. Lin Moyu said, nothing is impossible. I was originally going to tell you, but since you don't believe me, there's no need to say more. As he spoke, wisps of white mist rose from his body, with faint dragon roars sounding. Luck Transformation Dragon. Lin Moyu used the luck explosion technique, raising his luck to the limit. At the same time, he began controlling the cosmic tree's luck. The cosmic tree's luck was extremely poor, with a value of only 1, dark gray, on the verge of death. The difference in luck between them was huge. The luck explosion technique activated. With a light crack, that was the last sound the cosmic tree heard. Its soul collapsed, and its consciousness fell into endless darkness. The cosmic tree died, dying under the luck explosion technique. Lin Moyu quietly sensed, and found that causality had not changed at all. The cosmic tree had not left any backup plans, so no causality was produced. This was the best outcome. Lin Moyu did not like causality. Causality was too heavy, too much of it would be unbearable even for the great world, let alone himself. Just as he was about to put away the cosmic tree's corpse, Lin Moyu suddenly noticed something unusual. Inside the cosmic tree's body, there was actually something hidden. This was the most core part of the cosmic tree, equivalent to a human's heart. Yet something was hidden inside. Lin Moyu took it out, surprise flashing in his eyes. This is a shell. What the cosmic tree had hidden in its body was actually a piece of shell. Where there is sea, there are usually shells. The Starry Sky Merman clan also liked to use shells, and they could refine shells into all kinds of magical treasures. Yu Qingru had once given Lin Moyu a communication device made from a shell. Within a certain range, they could communicate with each other. But now finding a shell hidden in the cosmic tree's body was rather strange. Lin Moyu held the shell in his hand and examined it carefully, finding it had many similarities to the shell Yu Qingru had given him. This shell should be a magical treasure, but there are no traces of it being refined. Why did the cosmic tree keep it, and hide it so deeply? Lin Moyu was very puzzled. If the cosmic tree were still alive, he could ask. But it was dead now. Of course, he could use Revive the Dead to turn it into a revived being and ask, but whether he could successfully control it across such a large realm gap was questionable, and he had to consider if it was worth it. Moreover, the cosmic tree might not know the answer. The cosmic tree knew very little. Unlike humans with their vast inheritance, its information was too scarce. Perhaps it had kept the shell simply because it was unusual, without necessarily knowing what the shell was for. Just looking with the naked eye, nothing could be seen. Compared to the Starry Sky Merman clan's shells, it was 70% similar, but there were differences. Lin Moyu clearly sensed that this shell obtained by the cosmic tree was of a higher grade and quality than the one Yu Qingru had given him. From the shell, Lin Moyu felt a familiar aura. He thought for a moment, and knew where the similarity lay. Inheritance Pearl. Lin Moyu sensed an aura from the shell similar to the Inheritance Pearl of the Cloud Mist sect. The strong cultivators of ancient times liked to use pearls. Of course, the pearls they used were not ordinary pearls. Lin Moyu's heart stirred. Is there something recorded in here too? He carefully sent his soul power in. Though he felt there shouldn't be any danger, Lin Moyu was still very cautious. The soul power smoothly entered, and the shell began to glow faintly. The light was beautiful, a deep blue, very enchanting. There's something here. Lin Moyu continued injecting soul power, to see if he could fully activate the shell. Time passed second by second. Lin Moyu injected more and more soul power, and the shell grew brighter and brighter, the area covered by light rapidly expanding. Lin Moyu's eyes grew more surprised. The soul power he had injected already exceeded his total soul power. If not for the world tree continuously replenishing his soul power, it would have been exhausted long ago. But the shell still wasn't fully activated. Lin Moyu could sense that it still needed more soul power. As soon as he stopped, the shell would quickly dim. Lin Moyu was determined. He wanted to see just how much soul power the shell could absorb. At this point, he was completely certain the shell was extraordinary. If it were an ordinary object, it would have been burst apart by his soul power long ago. After a full 10 minutes, the shell was finally fully activated. The light it emitted covered a vast area of space, reaching tens of millions of kilometers. All the cosmic beasts in this region of space retreated. They seemed very afraid of the shell's light. Tens of millions of kilometers of space turned azure blue. Then Lin Moyu heard the sound of rushing water, and his nose became moist. At this moment, he had the illusion of being in the ocean. Waves rippled, and in the blink of an eye, space was covered by ocean. Lin Moyu found himself truly in the ocean. The ocean was not far below his feet, but for some reason, Lin Moyu felt this ocean was extremely dangerous. Then, he saw a large sphere, drifting with the waves in the ocean. The sphere was translucent, half above the water and half below, bobbing up and down. The moment Lin Moyu saw the sphere, he could no longer look away. His body trembled slightly. He opened his mouth and spoke with difficulty, "This is the Great World." Chapter 2086. 2086. Chapter 2086. The Great World in the Boundary Sea. Lin Moyu's expression was very peculiar at this moment. Even as calm as he was, he couldn't help but be shocked. The scene before him was simply too unbelievable. He actually saw the Great World, from an outside perspective, looking down upon it. This experience was unprecedented. The reason he was so certain was because of the Great World rune. His gaze penetrated the translucent sphere and saw a delicate rune at its center. This rune was already shattered, full of cracks, as if it could collapse at any moment. He recognized this rune, having seen it more than once. It was undoubtedly the Great World rune. Besides the Great World rune, he also saw countless starlights within the sphere. These starlights interwove into star regions, which were the various star regions within the Great World. Among them were the human race's Divine City Star region, the Four Directions Star region, and the star regions of the Demon race, Golden Eagle race, and other races. He even found the Green Crane Tribe Star region, which he had recently destroyed. The Green Crane Tribe Star region was now empty, with nothing left. Beyond the star regions, there was an incredibly vast space, which was the outer domain space. The outer domain space was not empty, it also had stars, though very few in number. Moreover, most of the outer domain space was hidden beneath the seawater, making it impossible to see clearly. Combining all these observations, Lin Moyu judged that this sphere was the Great World. Suddenly, he recalled a phrase that the Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable had once blurted out, which contained a term, boundary sea. At that time, the Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable did not elaborate, but now Lin Moyu understood. Boundary sea, the Sea of Worlds. The Great World is one world, and there are many worlds like the Great World. These worlds vary in size and are countless. And the place where they exist is the Boundary Sea. If this is truly the Boundary Sea, then there should be other worlds. Lin Moyu searched within the Boundary Sea and finally saw another sphere in the distance. This sphere was much smaller than the Great World, about 1% of its size. However, Lin Moyu felt that this world was full of vitality, while the Great World felt like it was in its twilight years. Then Lin Moyu's eyes narrowed. He knew which world this was. During the Saint Venerable's recent divine journey, he had entered a strange world. Later, Old Star guessed that this world was very close to the Great World and was likely to collide with it. Lin Moyu looked at the trajectories of the two worlds and his face turned grim. Old Star was right, they will indeed collide. Judging by the speed of the two worlds' trajectories, a collision was inevitable. Lin Moyu felt an urgent sense of crisis. Although the two worlds were still far apart, the collision was only a matter of time. This vibrant world, though much smaller than the Great World, likely had supreme realm powerhouses. If there was only one, it might be manageable, but if there were more, the Great World would be doomed. I don't know how much time is left. Lin Moyu couldn't determine the time. He felt that the time in the Boundary Sea and the Great World was different, making it impossible to judge. The Great World is here, where is the Black Blood Great Realm? Suddenly thinking of the Black Blood Great Realm, Lin Moyu continued to search for its traces but found nothing. That's impossible, the Black Blood Great Realm is missing. Is it because I can't see it, or is it really gone? Lin Moyu couldn't make an accurate judgment. At this moment, the light from the shell began to retract, quickly dimming, and the azure light was disappearing. Lin Moyu hadn't seen enough and immediately injected soul power into the shell, but it had no effect. The shell rejected his soul power. A few seconds later, the Boundary Sea disappeared, and the starry sky returned to calm. Lin Moyu's body trembled, and his brows furrowed. He felt as if he had returned from another time and space, and the time around him seemed abnormal. Lin Moyu used the time rule, letting it flow through his body, and the discomfort gradually disappeared. My feeling was correct. I indeed entered another time and space just now. It wasn't the time and space of the Great World. Could it be that I briefly left the Great World? Lin Moyu found it hard to believe. He was clearly here, so how could he leave the Great World? A small piece of shell could actually take him out of the Great World. The shell had lost its luster and became ordinary. Lin Moyu felt that this shell came from the Boundary Sea, not something native to the Great World. It had a magical function, allowing him to see the world outside the Great World and the Boundary Sea. Different time and space, different time flow. I stayed there for about 10 minutes. How long has passed in the Great World? Lin Moyu's heart stirred, and he immediately took out the warship. The warship had a timekeeping device to show the time. Excluding the time spent fighting the starry sky giant tree, it had been over 70 days. 10 minutes, 70 days, a 10,000-fold time flow. Lin Moyu was stunned. 10 minutes in the boundary sea equaled 70 days in the real world. 10 minutes and 70 days, a 10,000-fold time flow. Though unbelievable, he could only accept reality. Lin Moyu calmed down completely. According to the time in the boundary sea, the collision between that world and the great world will happen in about 50 days, which is 50,000 days in the real world. That's less than 1,400 years. This time is shorter than expected. Old Star had said it was very close, but it was still measured in thousands of years. According to Old Star's estimate, the collision would happen in at least a few thousand years. But what Lin Moyu saw this time was precise to 1,400 years. 1,400 years, not much time left for the great world and the human race. Putting away the shell and the starry sky giant tree's corpse, Lin Moyu sighed and took out the warship to leave again. At this point, Lin Moyu knew that any concern or worry was useless. The collision of two worlds, the impending world war, was even more brutal than a race war. It was a matter of life and death, unlike the ancient human race, which was so powerful that it was willing to give the weak a piece of the sky. Lin Moyu believed that the powerhouses of that world would surely erase everything in the great world and plunder its origin to strengthen their own world. He pondered deeply about what he needed to do next. 1,400 years, he needed to ascend to the Saint Venerable realm. 1,400 years, he needed to clear out all the races in the great world, leaving none behind. The collision of worlds is both a danger and an opportunity. If we can win, there might be a chance to use the new world's origin to open a new divine path. The words of the Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable were still vivid in his mind. The great world once had only one divine path, and the subsequent divine paths were established by plundering the origins of other worlds. Although he didn't fully understand the root cause, Lin Moyu already knew that plundering the origins of other worlds could establish new divine paths. So, the collision of worlds was both a danger and an opportunity. The divine path must be established, and this was something Lin Moyu would never give up. Then let's give it a try. The warship flew across the boundary, truly entering the outer domain, diving into deep space, and flying farther and farther away. Chapter 2087, 2087. Chapter 2087, The Ghost Race Born to Take the Blame. Killing the cosmic tree also settled a 100-year-old grudge. With the karmic connection severed, Lin Moyu felt a sense of relief. After cutting off the karmic ties with a being at the other shore realm, the change in feeling was quite noticeable. Lin Moyu knew he carried a lot of karmic burdens, with countless alien races wanting to kill him. But sooner or later, he would cut them all off. Settling all karmic debts, traveling light, to see if he could find a way to establish a new divine path. Lin Moyu once again immersed himself in rune cultivation. The path of runes was too vast and profound, he still had much to learn. As for realm cultivation, he had already found another method. Just as he had sought out strange stars before the divine Venerable realm, now he had other methods for cultivation. The questions about the Green Crane tribe's annihilation did not stop after 100 days, but rather showed a trend of intensifying. The stranger the incident, the more it worried people. Many races not much different from the Green Crane tribe began to fear for themselves. The several Saint Venerables of the human race were basically certain it was Lin Moyu's doing, but they wouldn't say so. Not only did they not speak of it, they also spread false information. The implication was that it might have been the appearance of the ghost race from outside the domain that caused this phenomenon. The ghost race was not made up by the human race. Many races had records of the ghost race. However, there was very little information about the ghost race. The human race's Saint Venerables had to think hard before coming up with the ghost race, so they embellished and exaggerated before releasing this information. In the human race's message, the ghost race devoured everything, leaving nothing in their wake. However, the ghost race had always lived outside the domain, rarely coming inside. The human race's message was half true and half false, but the other races had no choice but to believe it. After all, the human race was the oldest race in this world, possessing the most comprehensive information. Except for the legendary dragon race, probably no other race knew more than the human race. But the dragon race had disappeared for countless years, and only the human race could find them. Moreover, the dragon race never interfered with the operation of this world, did not participate in any racial wars, and never came to the Great World to obtain resources, remaining extremely mysterious. After the news about the ghost race appeared, many races chose to believe it. The human race's Saint Venerables were already laughing with joy as long as someone believed it, their goal had been achieved. Their purpose in releasing the information was to confuse the issue, to prevent people from suspecting Lin Moyu. Even a little suspicion was not allowed. Saint Venerable Hao guessed that Lin Moyu might do it a second or even a third time. Finding someone to take the blame in advance would only benefit Lin Moyu, with no downsides. The Saint Venerables actually knew clearly in their hearts that if there was still hope for the human race, if there was still hope for this world, that hope was very likely to be on the Lin Moyu siblings. They would not interfere with the growth of the two, but they would do their best to do what they could. Half a month later, Lin Moyu's warship left deep space. The outer domain was silent and pitch black, with starlight becoming extremely rare here. The faint light on the warship became the brightest star. There were no star maps here. Lin Moyu could only navigate by himself. Perhaps, in ancient times, this was also a prosperous star region. Lin Moyu put away the warship, his gaze sweeping across the empty starry sky, unable to help but sigh. In ancient times, the human race's world was extremely prosperous and powerful, and their territory far exceeded that of today. Where Lin Moyu stood now was 100,000 light-years away from the inner domain, extremely desolate. But in ancient times, this place was very likely to have been extremely prosperous, with countless cultivators. If he could go back in time, he really wanted to see what kind of grand spectacle the human race had in those days. Lin Moyu stretched out his hand and drew a rune. This rune came from the Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable, specifically used for pointing directions, pointing to the direction of this inheritance site. Only within 10 million kilometers of the inheritance site would the rune take effect. The rune flashed in the starry sky but did not point out a specific direction. Still more than 10 million kilometers away, Lin Moyu left behind a skeleton divine general, then chose a direction and teleported away. After teleporting 10 million kilometers, he drew the pointing rune again to check. Because of deep space navigation, the maximum error could reach 100 million kilometers, so Lin Moyu could only try bit by bit. With the skeleton divine general as the center point and a diameter of 100 million kilometers, he drew a spherical range. Lin Moyu kept teleporting within this spherical range, constantly drawing runes. Finally, after a series of searches, the pointing rune finally showed some movement. The pointing rune transformed into a beam of light, pointing directly to a certain place. Lin Moyu immediately went there, arriving at the place the pointing rune indicated. This place was equally empty, seemingly nothing there. Since the rune pointed here, it couldn't be that there was nothing. Lin Moyu thought for a moment and knew what the Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable had done. The Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable had set up a containment array here, leaving the inheritance items in the array. If one couldn't break through the containment array he had set up, one couldn't obtain the things inside. It was a small test, not too big or too small. Lin Moyu was already very familiar with the containment array, so naturally, it couldn't stump him. The space rule rolled and surged, enveloping the surrounding starry sky. No matter how well hidden the containment array was, it always existed within space. As the space rule swept by, it would inevitably reveal some clues. Sure enough, Lin Moyu sensed the existence of the containment array. Having found the right location, the next step was easy. Lin Moyu drew a rune on the spot, and the rune accurately hit the containment array. The originally hidden containment array was immediately revealed. Then Lin Moyu used his soul power as a key to dismantle the array left by the Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable. Fortunately, the array left by the Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable is not high level. If it were like the ancient box, needing rule power to open, that would be troublesome. The containment array was quickly dismantled, and the things inside the internal space were revealed. Lin Moyu's expression suddenly changed, and he moved his feet to teleport away. A sword light slashed through the void, shattering the afterimage he left behind. Lin Moyu appeared 100,000 kilometers away, his expression somewhat unpleasant. If he hadn't reacted quickly enough just now, he would have been hit. The sword light continued to dance, drawing out brilliant trailing shadows. Under the sword light was a box, which was the ancient box Lin Moyu had seen before. The box was covered with runes, very complex ancient runes that would give one a headache just looking at them. The sword light danced with flickering shadows, and runes appeared within the shadows. The sword body also flashed with complex runes. This is a rune artifact. Lin Moyu recognized at a glance that this sword was actually a rune artifact. Rune masters can craft their own rune artifacts, and rune swords are the most common type. However, the power of rune artifacts crafted by different rune masters varies greatly, with huge differences. The difference is not based on realm. Some rune masters are skilled in rune arrays but not in crafting rune artifacts. Perhaps the rune artifacts they craft are not as good as those of rune masters one realm lower. The rune sword left by the Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable naturally cannot be underestimated. In Lin Moyu's perception, this rune sword had already reached the other shore realm, no weaker than the Soul Slayer sword. Lin Moyu's mind was clear as a mirror, suddenly understanding the Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's intentions. In the Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's inheritance, he first taught the most basic rune knowledge, then began to impart runes, followed by dismantling runes and setting up rune arrays. Now it was finally time for how to craft rune artifacts. The Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable used his method to impart various knowledge about the path of runes, various techniques and methods, one by one. Chapter 2088, 2088. Chapter 2088, Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's Sigil Sword. Lin Moyu flew over, but didn't get too close, maintaining a distance of over 10,000 kilometers. The Sigil Sword was very fast, able to cross this distance in an instant. Lin Moyu was extremely cautious, ready to teleport away at any moment. He had fought against other Shore Realm powerhouses before, but this was his first time facing another Shore Realm treasure. The Sigil Sword wasn't large, but its power was immense. Even if the undead army acted as a meat shield, it would likely be easily pierced through. Lin Moyu wasn't sure if the golden sword could block it. Most likely it couldn't, at best it could hold out for a while. Lasting 10 seconds would be considered good. Even from over 10,000 kilometers away, Lin Moyu could feel the sharpness of the Sigil Sword. Within the sword light, the figure of Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable appeared. It was another soul fragment. Lin Moyu wondered if Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's soul was inexhaustible, leaving fragment after fragment. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable smiled at Lin Moyu. "You're quite impressive, able to come here at just Divine Venerable rank 3. It seems you've obtained all the inheritances I left before. But the difficulty of this inheritance is not small." He spoke as if the previous inheritances had been easy. But Lin Moyu only thought this to himself, not saying it out loud. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable was eccentric, better not to mock him. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable said, "In the previous inheritances, you learned some basic knowledge of sigils, and also learned how to use sigils to set up arrays. Being able to come here shows you not only have excellent comprehension suitable for the path of sigils, but your combat power must not be weak either. This time there's no need to solve puzzles. You just need to fight. If you can defeat the Sigil Sword I left behind, you can obtain the inheritance and rewards. But I warn you in advance, if you're killed by the Sigil Sword, you can only blame your bad luck." One moment he was speaking kindly like a benevolent elder selecting a successor. The next moment he spoke such cold words, devoid of any emotion. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's temperament was truly extremely eccentric. After speaking, Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable lightly tapped his finger, and a sigil automatically flew out. Lin Moyu had a bad feeling, but it was already too late. Countless sigils appeared in the starry sky, densely packed, forming a huge array. This array was extremely large, the largest sigil array Lin Moyu had ever seen. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable said, "I have sealed off 1 billion kilometers of space. You cannot leave until you defeat the Sigil Sword." Lin Moyu was cursing in his heart. He knew Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable wasn't lying, the space within 1 billion kilometers had indeed been sealed off. It wasn't like sealing space. He could still freely use his space rules. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable had surrounded 1 billion kilometers of space like a cage, not allowing Lin Moyu to escape. Other than that, there were no other restrictions. As Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable finished speaking, the Sigil Sword flew over with incredible speed, arriving in front of Lin Moyu almost instantly. Lin Moyu instinctively took a step and teleported 400 million kilometers away. Just as his figure appeared, his expression changed drastically. The Sigil Sword was already right in front of him again. So fast. Lin Moyu was shocked. The Sigil Sword's speed far exceeded his expectations. He teleported again without thinking, but each time he finished teleporting, the Sigil Sword was right in front of him. Impossible. Something must be wrong. It can't be this fast. Lin Moyu knew he teleported to different locations each time. No matter how fast the sigil sword was, it should take some time to find his position. But as soon as he finished teleporting, the sigil sword would appear in front of him. This was very abnormal. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's voice rang out, "My sigil treasure has the ability to track and break through space. Even with your space rules, you can't escape." Damn it, Lin Moyu cursed in his heart. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable truly left no loopholes. The sigil sword possessed both tracking and space-breaking abilities. And Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's method was extremely skillful. Lin Moyu hadn't detected being locked onto at all. It's probably not locking on, but marking me. The sigil sword won't give me a chance to remove the mark. It's not a soul lock, so the wings of the undead won't work. With its space-breaking ability, I can teleport, but so can the sigil sword. So no matter how I teleport, the sigil sword can arrive instantly. After figuring it out, Lin Moyu teleported once more but didn't dodge again. The golden sword appeared in his hand, swinging fiercely to clash with the sigil sword. With a bang, Lin Moyu was sent flying thousands of kilometers by an enormous force, unable to stop. The sigil sword was also knocked away, but after spinning a few times, it flew back rapidly. Lin Moyu swung his sword again, forming a golden shield. The sigil sword struck the golden shield, causing countless cracks to appear. The flying sword was knocked back again. Lin Moyu looked at the golden sword. A notch had appeared on the blade from the collision. The outer layer of the golden sword was formed from the golden rule by Heavenly Saint Venerable. Though sturdy, it was clearly not as strong as the sigil sword. The sigil sword flew back and crashed into the golden shield again. The shield shattered with a boom. It was even worse than Lin Moyu had expected. The shield only blocked 2 attacks. But it also bought Lin Moyu some time. Large numbers of skeleton divine generals appeared in the starry sky, forming a skeleton meat shield. Lin Moyu knew that just dodging wouldn't work. He had to counterattack. The skeleton divine generals all swung their swords at the sigil sword, filling the starry sky with pure white sword chi. The sigil sword burst out of the white sword chi, its momentum undiminished as it stabbed towards Lin Moyu. The sword chi from the skeleton divine generals had no effect on it at all. The skeleton divine generals blocked the sigil sword's path. Their golden armor sigils glowed brightly, interwoven to form hundreds of layers of defense. Each layer of golden armor sigils could block a strike from a peak divine venerable, but Lin Moyu knew it was far from enough against another shore realm being. There had been precedents before. Against attacks from other shore realm beings, the golden armor sigils were truly as fragile as paper. Lin Moyu sometimes lamented that the enemies he faced were always too powerful, greatly reducing the effectiveness of the golden armor sigils. In fact, as long as it wasn't against other shore realm beings, the power of the golden armor sigils would make any divine venerable despair. The sigil sword instantly pierced through hundreds of layers of golden armor sigils, its speed not slowing at all. Countless skeleton divine generals were pierced by the sigil sword, collapsing on the spot. The sigil sword's power was extreme, even more terrifying than the cosmic tree. Lin Moyu's heart stirred, and the Death Dragon Knight Legion appeared. The Legion rulers launched a fatal strike at the sigil sword. Their battle blades accurately struck the sigil sword, but it had no effect at all. The sigil sword shattered the battle blades and pierced through the Legion rulers' bodies. Even the Legion rulers with their powerful defense were pierced by the sigil sword, shattering on the spot. Lin Moyu summoned the Skull Kings. The Skull Throne appeared wreathed in raging flames. The Skull Throne was enormous, just blocking Lin Moyu's front. The sigil sword stabbed into the Skull Throne with a bang and was knocked away. Lin Moyu understood, as expected. He knew the bone swords in the Skull King's hands were incredibly sturdy. And the bone swords were transformed from the Skull Throne, so the Skull Throne must be equally sturdy. Today's test proved it. Even the sigil sword couldn't damage it. The sigil sword could notch the golden sword, yet was helpless against the Skull Throne. Clearly the Skull Throne's sturdiness surpassed even the golden sword. Lin Moyu's lips curled in a slight smile. He knew he now stood undefeated. If even the Skull Throne didn't work, Lin Moyu was prepared to use the Calamity Scepter. Now it seemed that might not be necessary. Off to the side, Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable frowned slightly, squinting at the Skull Throne. That looks a bit familiar. Chapter 2089. 2089. Chapter 2089. How do you have his things? Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable felt the Skull Throne looked familiar, along with those skeleton armies that also seemed somewhat familiar. But he couldn't remember, as this soul fragment didn't have those memories. Lin Moyu didn't know Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerables' thoughts. The 5 Skull Kings swung their bone swords, striking the sigil sword with precision. With each collision, the Skull Kings would be knocked back by the enormous force, and the sigil sword would also be repelled some distance. However, the sigil sword recovered quickly. Before the Skull Kings could recover, the sigil sword had already returned. Fortunately, there were 5 Skull Kings in total. The 5 Skull Kings took turns engaging, completely blocking the sigil sword. Lin Moyu changed from a fugitive to a spectator. His eyes flickered as he first established an undefeated position, then thought of ways to deal with the sigil sword. This thing is very sturdy. Although the Skull King's bone swords are equally sturdy, their attack power is not enough to destroy it. Use the Calamity Scepter. This was Lin Moyu's first reaction. The Calamity Scepter was invincible, there was nothing it couldn't smash, and the sigil sword was likely no exception. But if he didn't use the Calamity Scepter, was there perhaps another way? At this moment, Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable raised his finger and lightly tapped towards the sigil sword. The sigil sword hummed and became even more sharp. Countless cracks appeared in space. The sigil sword's mere aura was about to tear space apart. The sigil sword continued to crash into the Skull King's bone swords. Fortunately, the bone swords were extremely sturdy. After 2 collisions, the sigil sword still hadn't shattered them. After several unsuccessful attacks, the sigil sword suddenly changed its angle. It suddenly turned, bypassing the bone swords and stabbing directly at a Skull King. The Skull King's bones broke, and its huge body was violently sent flying backwards, rapidly collapsing in space. The Skull King's bodies were far less sturdy than their bone swords and couldn't withstand the sigil sword's attack. The sigil sword moved like lightning, stabbing towards another Skull King. The Skull King swung its sword like rain, forming an impenetrable defense. But the sigil sword was too fast and still managed to stab it. The huge body collapsed on the spot. Lin Moyu looked at Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable, and Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable happened to be looking at Lin Moyu as well. Their gazes met in space. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable had a smile. Your skeletons can't hold on much longer. Do you have any other methods? Lin Moyu didn't speak, but instead pointed a finger at the sigil sword. White star level spell, time curse. Red light spread out, and the sigil sword was immediately affected by the curse, its speed and attacks slightly weakened. But this was far from enough. The time law flowed, and Lin Moyu altered the sigil sword's time flow rate. The sigil sword's speed immediately slowed down, becoming much slower than before. It could no longer bypass the Skull King's bone swords and was repeatedly knocked away. The Skull Kings that had been pulverized earlier also revived and rejoined the battle. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable exclaimed in surprise, "Time law, not bad, not bad." He casually drew a sigil. The sigil lit up, and the sigil sword instantly disappeared. The next moment, the sigil sword appeared in front of a Skull King, almost touching it. It bypassed the bone sword and crashed into the Skull King's body. With a bang, the Skull King was instantly shattered. Teleportation. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable gave the sigil sword even more powerful space-breaking abilities. The sigil sword began teleporting through space, becoming difficult to block. Lin Moyu narrowed his eyes. He knew he had to deal with not just the sigil sword, but also Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable as the controller. Lin Moyu waved out 5 streams of time law that fell on the Skull Kings. The Skull Kings' speed suddenly increased, though they could only barely keep up. Then Lin Moyu's hand flowed with space law, fusing with the time law to form a simple space-time power. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable finally showed emotion, the power of space-time. The space-time power fell on the sigil sword, and it hummed to a stop in place. Affected by the space-time power, its time and space were completely disrupted. It lost its space-breaking ability and could not traverse space, losing its aim for a moment. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable drew another sigil, intending to further enhance the sigil sword. A sigil flew out, but before it could reach the sigil sword, a sigil array suddenly unfolded. Lin Moyu used the containment sigil array to directly take away Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's sigil. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable raised an eyebrow, his expression slightly surprised. He didn't expect Lin Moyu to have this move. But in the next second, an even more surprising thing happened. The bone hell suddenly appeared beside Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable, swallowing him. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable felt himself enter another world. Hellfire rushed towards him, followed by hell fiends. He never expected Lin Moyu to suddenly target him. Anger seemed to rise in Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's eyes. A sigil formed at his fingertip and then exploded. With a rumbling sound, the bone hell shattered on the spot. The bone hell was far from enough against a heavenly venerable, even if it was just a soul fragment of one. This was within Lin Moyu's expectations. It was enough, as the mark had already been placed on Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable. The Skull Kings suddenly turned simultaneously, swinging their swords at Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable. Spell, God Slayer. The sword light exploded on Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable. His soul shook slightly, and he frowned, seeming to feel a bit of pain, but that was all. The Skull King's attacks had little effect on Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's soul. Lin Moyu naturally understood this point. He had already known the answer before in the Wood God's secret realm. The reason for doing this was more to make a statement. If you continue to interfere, I will treat you as an enemy and attack you as well. Another meaning was that Lin Moyu just wanted to see Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's reaction, to see if he was included in this test. So far, Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable had interfered several times, but hadn't said anything clearly. How could Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable not understand Lin Moyu's meaning? He smiled and said, "This Heavenly Venerable said you can use any method. With your strength, it's very difficult to kill this Heavenly Venerable. You might as well think more about how to deal with the sigil sword." As he spoke, he drew another sigil. The sigil flashed past, bypassing the containment sigil array Lin Moyu had set up, and directly fell on the sigil sword. The sigil sword immediately stabilized. A stream of light formed around it, shielding it from Lin Moyu's space-time power. The sigil sword disappeared again, instantly appearing in front of Lin Moyu. Suddenly, the sigil sword vanished once more, and the next second it had returned to Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's side. At this moment, Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's gaze was extremely complex, even containing some fear. In Lin Moyu's hand, a flame was slowly burning and flickering. The flame was not intense, but it had a terrifying aura. Just looking at the flame made one feel as if they would be burned to death, as if the entire world would be burned away. The world-burning fire danced in Lin Moyu's palm. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable looked at Lin Moyu and said in a low voice, "How do you have his things?" He was just a soul fragment, with incomplete memories. Lin Moyu said, "Venerable Senior, shall we continue?" Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable knew the terror of the world-burning fire. He knew very clearly that he couldn't withstand it. If they continued fighting, Lin Moyu might not be able to deal with the sigil sword, but he could definitely burn Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable to death. After hesitating for a moment, Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable sighed lightly, "No need." He put away the sigil sword, and Lin Moyu also put away the Skull Kings and the world-burning fire. If he had known the world-burning fire was so effective, he would have taken it out earlier. Lin Moyu also realized how terrifying that mysterious master was. The world-burning fire he left behind could even frighten a Heavenly Venerable. The fear that flashed across Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's face couldn't deceive anyone. Lin Moyu could clearly sense it. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable waved his hand, and the ancient box beside him automatically flew to Lin Moyu's side. "The reward is yours." At the same time, the sigil sword began to transform, turning into a pearl. Chapter 2090, 2090. Chapter 2090, pointing you in the right direction. The ancient box and the inheritance pearl flew to Lin Moyu one after the other. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's voice came simultaneously, "The inheritance pearl records the method of refining rune artifacts. As for the contents of the box, you'll have to open it yourself in the future to see. It might be useful, or it might not. You are quite impressive, unconventional, able to think of attacking me instead of just targeting the sigil sword. This shows decisiveness in your character, without hesitation. This is best. If we had been like this back then, we wouldn't have ended up in this situation." Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's voice carried a hint of melancholy, like a sigh after completing a significant task. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable looked into the void. "I know you have more questions, but this fragment of my soul doesn't have complete memories, so I don't know much. What you need to know, you will eventually find out." Seeing the world-burning fire, I know he must have made some arrangements. Perhaps his choice was correct, and we were all wrong. Lin Moyu couldn't quite grasp Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's thoughts. From his tone, it seemed he wanted to tell him something, but due to incomplete memories, he couldn't be sure if what he said was correct. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's temperament was too eccentric, sometimes unpredictable. Lin Moyu could only tentatively say, "Senior, I accidentally saw the boundary sea." Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's gaze, originally looking into the distant void, was suddenly attracted, falling on Lin Moyu. His gaze was piercing, almost tangible. You said you saw the boundary sea. How did you see it? What did you see? Lin Moyu said, I saw the great world, saw it floating and moving in the boundary sea. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable immediately asked, were you above the boundary sea or below it? Lin Moyu said, above the boundary sea. At that time, he felt the boundary sea was very dangerous, and going down would mean death. Above the boundary sea, above the boundary sea. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable kept murmuring. Lin Moyu could hear that there seemed to be a significant difference between being above and below the boundary sea. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable said, you must have seen the boundary sea through a shell. Lin Moyu directly admitted it and took out the shell. The shell had now become ordinary, no different from a regular shell, seemingly in a dormant state, with no idea when it would recover. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable looked at the shell, seemingly nostalgic. It really is it. I didn't expect to see it again. Lin Moyu asked, Senior, what is the use of this shell? Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable looked at Lin Moyu. It has great use, but for you now, it can only let you see the scenes outside the world. When you become stronger and reach the Supreme Realm, it will have other uses. As for what specific use, you'll naturally know when the time comes. Your luck is really good, to even obtain a boundary sea shell. It seems the timid fellow Mist didn't choose the wrong person. So this thing is called the boundary sea shell, and it indeed let him see the boundary sea. Lin Moyu felt that this Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable was still approachable, so he immediately asked, Senior, what exactly is the boundary sea? Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable chuckled, not answering Lin Moyu directly. There is a rule you must always remember. To know more, you must reach higher realms. If your realm is insufficient, the more you know, the faster you die. Lin Moyu naturally understood this principle, but he still asked, Senior, I saw a world in the boundary sea about to collide with the great world. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable said, a troubled time indeed. Is the end of the great world approaching? How long until that world collides with the great world? About 1300 to 1400 years. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable nodded. Heaven never seals off all exits. The great world still has a chance, but it depends on your era to grasp it. I can't help you, but I can point you in two directions. First, if you reach the Saint Venerable realm one day, you can seek out the ghost race. Perhaps they can help you. Second, find the things I left behind, they might be of help. As his voice faded, Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's figure also faded, already leaving. Lin Moyu guessed he should have gone to the Great World Rune. The Venerables of that time felt guilty towards this world. The final destination of these venerable souls was the Great World Rune. They wanted to do something for the Great World Rune with their remnant souls. But what exactly they did to make amends, Lin Moyu didn't know. He was still far from the realm where he could touch the Great World Rune, too far. He remembered Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's words, murmuring, the ghost race, does this legendary race really exist? Can they help me? Could it be that the ghost race is not an alien race, but a race created by a certain venerable? Lin Moyu instinctively thought that the ghost race might be like the Starry Sky Merman clan and the Starry Sky Celestial clan, a race created by a certain venerable. But since it could only be sought after reaching the Saint Venerable realm, there was no need to rush now. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable left, and Lin Moyu also sat back in the warship, re-entering deep space. In the warship, Lin Moyu took out the inheritance pearl and began to absorb the inheritance within. This inheritance was the last one left by Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable, and also the final piece of the rune path puzzle. From the basic knowledge of runes to the splitting, fusion, rune arrays, fine-tuning, and now the method of refining rune artifacts. Unknowingly, Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable had already imparted all the knowledge of the rune path to Lin Moyu. Ultimately, how far Lin Moyu could go depended entirely on his own fortune. A few days later, while digesting the inheritance in deep space, Lin Moyu was awakened by a slight tremor. The tremor came from the deepest part of the great world. At the same time, he felt a causal connection with Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable disappear. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable indeed went to the Great World Rune, but I don't know what he did. The past is the past. Even if he were still alive, he would have no further connection with the Great World. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable left the inheritance, left his soul, but did not leave himself. Even though Lin Moyu obtained the inheritance, he had no further causal relationship with him. This causal relationship was cut off by Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable himself, for deeper reasons. Not only Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable, but Lin Moyu also felt that other venerables were the same. Just like how Mist Venerable left Little Mist here but cut off all causal ties with Little Mist and severed all connections with the great world. Those venerables were very decisive. Lin Moyu could understand them, but he didn't like their approach. But from another perspective, it seemed there was nothing wrong with it. After all, there is a saying among humans, if one does not look out for oneself, heaven and earth will destroy him. Lin Moyu didn't blame the venerables, he just didn't like it. He closed his eyes and continued studying runes. With the method of refining rune artifacts, and successfully refining one, the combat power of rune masters would greatly increase. The notion that rune masters are not good at combat would begin to change at this moment. As long as rune masters possess powerful rune artifacts, their combat power would definitely not be weaker than cultivators of the same realm, possibly even stronger. Lin Moyu felt a bit moved and had the urge to refine rune artifacts. The warship flew farther and farther in deep space, away from the human race, away from the war. Chapter 2091, 2091. Chapter 2091. What secret does the boundary seashell hold? The war in the Great World continued, and its scale kept escalating. Lin Moyu's plan was adopted. On the 4 battlefields, human cultivators formed small teams to operate. Smaller teams consisted of 4 or 6 people. Larger ones had 10 or 20 people. Humans no longer collected resources, but began slaughtering alien races. They killed every alien they encountered, without mercy, without questioning right or wrong, only distinguishing between life and death. People suddenly discovered that the efficiency of obtaining resources by killing aliens was no lower than collecting them themselves. This made human cultivators even more interested. When the news spread back, more human cultivators quickly came to hunt down the alien races. Naturally, the various races would not sit idly by waiting to die. They also began operating in teams, resulting in small-scale conflicts breaking out across the battlefield. On the military front, the battles became even more intense. After repeated clashes, from initial probing to formal warfare, the various races committed more and more troops. The human race was not to be outdone, also deploying massive armies to counterattack. The armies of various races attempted to surround the human star region, cutting off the 4 battlefields from the human star region. However, each encirclement operation ended in failure. The strength of the human armies far exceeded their expectations. For now, only armies were engaged in combat, with only those below the divine venerable realm taking action. Everyone knew that the real Great War had yet to come. If this Great War truly erupted, it would be the largest-scale war in 100,000 years. It might last for half a year, with an outcome that none of the races could predict. If they won, perhaps they could severely damage the human race again. If they lost, the human race would surely not let them off. They did not have the resilience and foundation of the human race. Once defeated, the result could only be racial extinction. Besides the war, the various races were also cautiously guarding against the ghost race. The scene of the Green Crane tribe's inexplicable disappearance was still fresh in their minds. Everyone feared such a bizarre incident might befall them. Lin Moyu finally mastered the method of refining sigil artifacts and immediately began attempting to craft one. Sigil artifacts can be composed purely of sigils, or can be refined using some materials. Generally speaking, the stronger the sigils and materials, the more powerful the resulting sigil artifact. Sigil artifacts composed purely of sigils are mostly single-use items. Lin Moyu took out the golden sword. After numerous battles, several notches had appeared on the golden sword. Looking closely, many cracks had also appeared on the blade. The golden rule could collapse at any moment. The Heavenly Saint Venerable probably hadn't expected Lin Moyu's combat intensity to be so high. Lin Moyu planned to use sigils to repair the golden sword, and even strengthen it. His fingertip drew extremely complex sigils in the void. These were all high-level sigils. Lin Moyu disassembled the sigils, then recombined them to form a sigil array. The sigil array operated, raising crimson flames. Lin Moyu then placed the golden sword within the sigil array to be tempered by the crimson flames. He continued drawing various sigils. The sigils fell onto the golden sword like hammers, constantly striking it. With each strike, sigil marks appeared on the golden sword. As the number of strikes increased, the number of sigils on the golden sword also grew. The sigils interwove into patches, combining to form numerous small sigil arrays. These small sigil arrays further combined to form slightly larger arrays. Several days later, the golden sword gleamed brightly. The notches on the blade had disappeared, and the cracks in the golden rule had completely healed. The golden sword had not only been restored, but was now stronger than before. A total of 81 sigil arrays. Not bad for a mid-level sigil artifact. Crafting a mid-level sigil artifact on his first try, Lin Moyu admired the golden sword, quite satisfied with his handiwork. The golden sword was not only restored, but its power had increased by 30%. Sigil artifacts also have ranks, with each realm divided into low, mid, and high levels. With only 36 small sigil arrays, it would be low level. Exceeding 36 small sigil arrays but less than 100 arrays is considered mid-level. Exceeding 100 arrays is considered high level. There is no limit for high-level sigil artifacts. 100 arrays is just the starting point. It can be thousands or tens of thousands, with no end. With Lin Moyu's understanding of sigils, plus the golden sword's original level, its rank had now reached the other shore realm. It was on par with mid-level artifacts of the other shore realm. Lin Moyu admired his masterpiece for a while, then planned to craft a new sigil artifact from scratch. Having just mastered the method of refining sigil artifacts, he naturally needed more practice. He had plenty of materials anyway. His battles had yielded countless resources, with no shortage of various materials. All the resources of the Green Crane tribe were now in his possession. Lin Moyu was practically a mobile treasury. Just as he was about to get to work, the warship suddenly stopped, slowly rising from deep space. "We've arrived." Lin Moyu checked the time. Without realizing it, 3 months had passed. Learning the method of refining sigil artifacts had taken a full 3 months. Having reached the destination, Lin Moyu temporarily set aside the idea of continuing to craft sigil artifacts. In the silent void, Lin Moyu surveyed his surroundings, faintly seeing a point of light. Found it. Lin Moyu revealed a slight smile and quickly headed over. This time he came to the outer domain not only to obtain Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's final inheritance, but also to find Red Star Supreme. He had left a mark here before and knew the approximate location. However, after so long, Red Star Supreme was no longer in the original spot. Fortunately, it hadn't moved far. Quickly traversing hundreds of millions of kilometers, Lin Moyu saw Red Star Supreme again. Red Star Supreme looked exactly the same as before, with no changes. The greatest advantage of a star awakening consciousness to become a Supreme is possessing an extremely long lifespan. Other Supremes live for about 200,000 years, twice as long as Saint Venerables. But for beings like Red Star Supreme, barring accidents, living for 100 million years is not a problem. This is their greatest advantage, but disadvantages also exist. Red Star Supreme's chances of advancing further to become a Heavenly Venerable are almost non-existent. There are advantages and disadvantages. The great world has always been fair in this way. Thinking more deeply, all origins have their causes and effects. Red Star Supreme sensed Lin Moyu's arrival. Its deep voice broke the silence. "Little one, why have you come back? Still haven't found your way home?" Lin Moyu smiled and said, "Greetings, Senior. I've already been home and back. This time I came specifically to find you." Red Star Supreme made an "oh" sound. "You have business with me." Lin Moyu said. Junior was fortunate enough to obtain a boundary seashell. Boom. Flames erupted as boundless fire burst from Red Star Supreme's body, reaching millions of kilometers, turning the entire starry sky red. The originally cold and silent starry sky saw its temperature instantly soar to billions of degrees. Even Lin Moyu felt the impact, quite uncomfortable. Lin Moyu's purple-gold body flashed brightly, blocking the scorching high temperature. If it were an ordinary divine venerable, they would have either died or been severely injured by now. Lin Moyu never expected Red Star Supreme to react so intensely. It was all because of hearing the 3 words, boundary seashell. What secret does the boundary seashell hold? Why would it cause such a reaction? Chapter 2092. 2092. Chapter 2092. That world has no heavenly venerables. Lin Moyu felt Red Star Supreme's aura was extremely unstable, its soul violently shaking. Lin Moyu couldn't help but ask, "Senior, are you all right?" "I'm fine." Red Star Supreme seemed to be gritting its teeth, forcibly suppressing some emotion. After a long while, Red Star Supreme finally calmed down, the flames gradually subsiding. Red Star Supreme said in a low voice, "What do you plan to do?" What does he mean by what do I plan to do? Lin Moyu didn't understand at all. "Senior, what do you mean?" Red Star Supreme asked. "Now that you have the boundary seashell, don't you plan to leave this world?" Lin Moyu asked strangely, can one leave this world just by having the boundary sea shell? Red Star Supreme finally realized it had asked the wrong question. Your realm is still lacking, you can't leave for now. But with the boundary sea shell, when you reach the Supreme Realm you can choose to leave. Lin Moyu shook his head, saying firmly, I won't leave. Red Star Supreme asked again, are you sure you won't leave? Lin Moyu affirmed again, I'm sure. I have too many attachments in this world. Red Star Supreme sighed, that's good. Back then I heard those heavenly venerables discussing whether to leave the great world. At that time some Supremes also agreed with the heavenly venerables' idea. I don't know if they ended up leaving in the end. Red Star Supreme had retreated early due to severe injuries, so it didn't know much about what happened afterwards. However, Lin Moyu knew that those heavenly venerables had indeed left the great world. Although choosing to leave for the sake of their own lives was understandable, Lin Moyu still didn't like their choice. Red Star Supreme also seemed to dislike their choice. Red Star Supreme's surface was roiling with flames, transforming into an old man wearing a red robe. The old man looked at Lin Moyu, judging by your expression, this old man already knows the answer. They still left in the end. Lin Moyu said, yes, they left. Red Star Supreme laughed loudly, I knew it. Those heavenly venerables, they value their own lives above all else. What home, what friends and family, to them it's all just a burden. For themselves, there's nothing they can't abandon. Red Star Supreme seemed to be laughing, but was actually cursing. In Red Star Supreme's eyes, those heavenly venerables were all selfish individuals, willing to give up and abandon anything for themselves. Lin Moyu didn't comment. He hadn't truly interacted with the heavenly venerables, only encountering fragments of their souls. But he felt Red Star Supreme was right, those heavenly venerables were indeed somewhat selfish. If they weren't selfish, Mist Heavenly Venerable wouldn't have abandoned Little Mist. Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable was not much different, doing the same. Red Star Supreme's voice shook the starry sky. It's one thing that they did it, but they even find all kinds of excuses, as if they had no choice. Lin Moyu asked, when those heavenly venerables left back then, did they also take some Supremes with them? Red Star Supreme said, definitely. Back then there weren't many Supremes in the great world, but there were still over 10,000. How could all these Supremes have died in battle? Some survivors must have left with them. But they couldn't have taken everyone. Some Supremes wouldn't leave. Lin Moyu strongly agreed with Red Star Supreme's view. Everyone is different, some would leave, some wouldn't. To leave the great world, one needed to be at least at the Supreme Realm. How many of those Supremes, friends and family could reach the Supreme Realm? However, the fact that there were over 10,000 Supremes in ancient times still shocked Lin Moyu. Red Star Supreme looked at Lin Moyu, little one, give me an honest answer. If you reach Supreme, will you really not leave? It's fine if you really want to leave. At most this old man will scold you a few times, I won't stop you. Lin Moyu smiled and said, I won't leave. Red Star Supreme nodded, good. For that answer alone, tell me, what business do you have with this old man? Lin Moyu said, after accidentally obtaining the Boundary Sea shell, I accidentally saw the Boundary Sea in the Great World. In the Boundary Sea, the Great World will collide with another world in about 1300 years. Red Star Supreme said in a low voice, did you see that world above or below the Boundary Sea? How deep was that world submerged in the Boundary Sea, and how big was it compared to the Great World? Lin Moyu said, I saw it above the Boundary Sea. About 1/3 of that world was submerged in the Boundary Sea. In terms of size, it should be less than 1% of the Great World, not very big. Red Star Supreme shook its head, it's already very big. The Great World only grew to its current size after devouring hundreds of worlds. But you say only 1/3 of it is submerged in the Boundary Sea, which is a good thing. Please explain, Senior. Lin Moyu didn't understand and sincerely asked for guidance. He remembered Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable had said something similar. The Boundary Sea clearly had distinctions between above and below, but Lin Moyu didn't understand the difference. And now Red Star Supreme was saying the same thing, making Lin Moyu even more curious about why. Red Star Supreme said, I'm not very clear on the specifics either. I've never been to the Boundary Sea. It's just that back then the Heavenly Venerables mentioned the Boundary Sea and talked about our world. When half of a world is submerged in the Boundary Sea, Heavenly Venerables will be born in that world. Why is our great world so powerful? Because when it was still very weak, half of it had already sunk into the Boundary Sea. So Heavenly Venerables were born in our great world. The worlds we encountered later all had no heavenly venerables. Lin Moyu finally understood that there was such a principle. Red Star Supreme continued explaining, this is just one aspect. It also depends on the size of the world. The larger the world, the more powerful beings it will have. Even without heavenly venerables, there will still be many supremes. Moreover, this ratio increases exponentially. The larger the volume, the more astonishing the increase in numbers. The world you saw has no heavenly venerables. The strongest should be supremes. And since it's less than 1% the size of the great world, there shouldn't be more than 10 supremes inside. Red Star Supreme made its judgment, and after hearing this, Lin Moyu felt a bit of a headache. 10 supremes was already a lot. If the two worlds really collided, the great world would very likely not be able to withstand it. The trump card of the human race, Old Star, could at most match one supreme. All the others combined couldn't defeat one supreme. The difference in strength was huge. Red Star Supreme said, you don't need to worry too much. There's still over 1,000 years left. If we make some preparations, we might be able to hold out. Lin Moyu looked at Red Star Supreme, how should we prepare? Red Star Supreme said, that's a long story. Basically, it involves using the stars in the great world to form an array. I call it the 10,000 star grand array. It can gather the power of 10,000 stars to contend with a supreme. However, setting up this array requires a lot of time. Lin Moyu asked, how many years does it take? Red Star Supreme said, one array requires at least 10,000 stars. After refining and arranging, it takes about 100 years. Lin Moyu quickly calculated, one array takes 100 years, so 10 arrays would take 1,000 years. But it couldn't be calculated like that. There's more than one array master. Red Star Supreme shattered Lin Moyu's fantasy, only this old man can set up this array. It's my innate talent. Lin Moyu was stunned for a moment, finally understanding. Red Star Supreme had awakened consciousness as a star and achieved supreme realm. The 10,000 star grand array was its innate talent. Chapter 2093, 2093. Chapter 2093, that's your human race's own business. In ancient times, supreme realm beings were everywhere, and there were quite a few heavenly venerables as well. Red Star Supreme's 10,000 star grand array was time-consuming and labor-intensive, and wouldn't have had any effect back then. But now, the 10,000 star grand array was a trump card. Supreme realm beings no longer existed, but the stars remained. Compared to ancient times, the great world had shrunk significantly, with fewer star systems and scarce resources. But they could still manage to gather tens of thousands of stars. Lin Moyu calculated the time. He planned for the worst-case scenario, the two worlds would collide in 1,300 years. After the collision, the supreme realm beings from the other side would inevitably invade the great world. By that time, the number of 10,000 star grand arrays would determine the life or death of the great world. Each 10,000 star grand array took 100 years to set up. Lin Moyu needed to buy as much time as possible. Before that, he first needed to eliminate the various races and reunify the great world as human territory. This way they could avoid worries from within and focus all efforts outward. There was a saying among humans, to repel foreign invaders, internal stability must be achieved first. If they couldn't even handle internal affairs well, there was no point in talking about external threats. Lin Moyu said, the current situation of the human race isn't very good. The various races have united and want to conquer the human race again. Senior. Red Star Supreme interrupted Lin Moyu's words, I understand what you mean, but I can't intervene in this matter. Lin Moyu was puzzled and looked at Red Star Supreme questioningly, wondering why in his heart. But he didn't ask out loud. He believed Red Star Supreme must have his reasons. Red Star Supreme explained, although I am a member of the great world, I am not part of the human race. The affairs between the various races and the human race must be resolved by you. Lin Moyu thought for a moment and understood. Although Red Star Supreme was a member of the great world, he was not part of the human race. The karmic ties between the various races and the great world were only part of it. More of it was between them and the human race. So this karmic debt needed to be settled by the human race. If Red Star Supreme intervened, it might not necessarily sever the karmic ties, and he might even bring trouble upon himself. Even the great world had difficulty bearing such karmic ties, let alone a single supreme realm being. At the same time, Lin Moyu also understood some of Red Star Supreme's thoughts. Red Star Supreme wasn't actually doing this for the human race, but for the great world. He could take action and risk his life for the great world, because the great world was his homeland, he was a child of the great world. But he wouldn't take action for the human race, as the human race didn't really have much to do with him. Moreover, Red Star Supreme disliked the heavenly venerables of the human race, thinking they were too selfish. If Red Star Supreme was also that selfish, he could have just left long ago and hidden in the deepest parts of the outer domain where no one could find him. He could even kill himself and take the boundary seashell. That way, even if the great world collapsed, he could still survive. Lin Moyu fully understood and bowed to Red Star Supreme. Thank you, Senior Red Star. Red Star Supreme nodded. Regarding the 10,000 star grand array, I still need to make some preparations. I will go to the depths of the outer domain. When I'm ready, I'll come find you in the inner domain. At this point, a crimson rock the size of a mountain range flew out from Red Star Supreme's body. The rock burned fiercely, continuously shrinking until it was only the size of a fist, and landed in Lin Moyu's hand. Inside the semi-transparent crimson rock, fierce flames were burning, making it look like a fire stone. However, when touched, it had no temperature at all. Red Star Supreme said, "Keep it with you. I will contact you when I come." Lin Moyu put away the stone. Is there anything else this junior needs to do? Red Star Supreme thought for a moment. If you want to save time, prepare the stars. Other than that, there's nothing else. In the warship, Lin Moyu held the boundary seashell, feeling somewhat worried. The effectiveness of the 10,000 star grand array was unclear. Red Star Supreme said it could rival a supreme realm being. But it was only rivaling, not necessarily defeating a supreme realm being. Moreover, the 10,000 star grand array had never been used before, so its true effectiveness was unknown. 1,000 years later, when the two worlds collide, if the number of supreme realm beings from the other side exceeds Red Star Supreme's estimate, or if the effectiveness of the 10,000 star grand array is not as good. After some thought, Lin Moyu felt he still needed to rely on his own strength. He couldn't completely depend on Red Star Supreme. Only by being strong enough himself would he have confidence in overcoming the crisis. A simple plan formed in his mind. First, he needed to become stronger, then eliminate internal threats, and finally face external enemies together. The plan was very simple. As for the details within, Lin Moyu already had a draft in mind. Suddenly, the warship shook violently. The warship, which had been flying rapidly through deep space, suddenly seemed to hit an invisible solid wall and was forcefully knocked back. Lin Moyu reacted extremely quickly, immediately regaining control of the warship. What happened? Lin Moyu sensed enormous energy from the spatial fluctuations. The warship appeared in surface space, and Lin Moyu saw a grand array shimmering in the void of space. The array was extremely large, spanning billions of miles of space. The array cut off space, not even sparing deep space. An array of this scale was comparable to the strongest arrays of the human race. Lin Moyu looked at this array with a strange expression. The array had many similarities to human arrays, but it wasn't exactly the same. In his memory, besides humans, no other race was skilled in this type of array. Suddenly, the array lit up, then began to expand and deform. A massive aura transmitted through the array. Lin Moyu's expression changed slightly. He immediately put away the warship and disappeared with a step. Just as he left, a strange force swept through the void. 100,000 kilometers away, Lin Moyu's figure appeared. His expression became even more unpleasant. The space law had been forcibly interrupted, and he had only teleported 100,000 kilometers. Space had been sealed off, and the space law temporarily lost its effect, needing time to adjust and adapt. Boom! Brilliant light flashed in the distance, and the array collapsed with a rumble. Lin Moyu also saw the situation inside the array. The battle inside the array was extremely fierce, with various laws raging through space, accompanied by the power of rules. All high-level divine venerables. Lin Moyu muttered to himself, then his pupils suddenly contracted. One side of the battle was actually the dragon race. And the other side fighting the dragon race, Lin Moyu had seen before, it was the insect race. They're actually battling here. Lin Moyu watched from afar. In Divine City, he had seen news of the dragon race and insect race fighting before, but that was many years ago. He didn't expect them to still be fighting. The dragon race was a legendary existence in the great world. Very few people had seen the dragon race, but everyone knew they existed. Even for the human race, special methods were needed to see the dragon race. Many years ago, Sword Orchid Divine Venerable had a chance encounter and obtained a token from the dragon race, allowing her to find where the dragon race was located. In the end, she obtained the Dragon Soul Crystal from the dragon race. Using the Dragon Soul Crystal to enhance her soul, she ascended to Divine Venerable. The Dragon Soul Crystal not only helped her ascend to Divine Venerable, but continued to have effects over the long years. Sword Orchid Divine Venerable was now close to reaching the other shore realm. But regarding matters within the dragon race, Sword Orchid Divine Venerable kept her lips tightly sealed, not saying a word. There weren't many records about the dragon race in the human race. Lin Moyu had basically read them all. Vaguely, he could sense that the dragon race held an extremely transcendent position in the great world. But combining with what he knew about ancient times, it seemed the dragon race had already existed even back then. However, during the Great War of Ancient Times, the dragon race never took action. Lin Moyu felt that the dragon race was more like an observer, watching this world. As for the existence or destruction of the Great World, the dragon race didn't seem to care. This feeling was very strange, and Lin Moyu could never quite figure it out. Chapter 2094. 2094. Chapter 2094. You don't have the right to know these things. In the starry sky, numerous massive elemental dragons were roaring, manipulating laws and unleashing endless attacks. Gale winds, raging fires, thunderbolts, and frigid ice. Various elemental laws exploded, causing the starry sky to rumble incessantly, nearly engulfing billions of light-years of star regions. Under the indiscriminate bombardment of elemental laws, the insect race was also desperately fighting back. The insect race's appearance was extremely ugly, but their attacks were incredibly powerful. One after another, equally huge insects spat green mucus from their mouths, which transformed into sharp arrows shooting towards the dragon race. The elemental dragons seemed somewhat wary of the mucus, constantly dodging. The battle covered an extremely large area, with no small number of elemental dragons, exceeding 10,000. Each one was a high-level Divine Venerable, with many at the peak Divine Venerable level. Although the insect race's individual strength was weaker, their numbers were even greater, far exceeding the dragon race. The battle between the two sides was evenly matched, with no clear winner for the time being. The dragon race is indeed very strong. Lin Moyu admired this battle, at this moment becoming a spectator. The human race also had over 10,000 Divine Venerables, but over 10,000 high-level Divine Venerables already surpassed the human race. High-level Divine Venerables weren't common, not something you could just produce at will. Moreover, Lin Moyu clearly understood the internal structure of the dragon race. The dragon race had a pyramid structure, with elemental dragons being the weakest members. Recalling the dragon race he had encountered in the instance before, he had thought they were only at the super divine realm at the time. Now thinking about it, that was just an insignificant avatar of theirs. These before him were the true elemental dragons, all high-level divine venerable beings. As for those dragon race members in the small world, they were just insignificant mixed-blood dragons. According to Antares, those mixed-blood dragons didn't even belong to the dragon race, their bloodline diluted and polluted after who knows how many generations. Elemental dragons were the lowest level of existence in the dragon race. Above them were holy dragons, and then true divine dragons. The news he had seen before about the dragon race battling the insect race mentioned one divine dragon leading the team, accompanied by 10 holy dragons and 100 elemental dragons. Now it seemed the scale of the battle had expanded 100-fold, with over 10,000 elemental dragons. Holy dragons and divine dragons hadn't been seen yet, likely in the central area of the battlefield. To be able to fight the dragon race to this extent, the insect race's strength is undoubtedly formidable. Compared to the dragon race, there's even less information about the insect race. Where exactly did the insect race come from? Why doesn't the dragon race care at all about the destruction of the great world, yet they care so much about their clansmen being insulted? The battle between the two races has continued for so many years. I wonder what the final outcome will be. Right now, it seems the dragon race doesn't have the upper hand. Just as Lin Moyu was spectating, suddenly an elemental dragon discovered him. That frost dragon covered in ice flew towards Lin Moyu, opening its mouth to directly breathe out icy dragon breath at him. Lin Moyu reacted extremely quickly, spreading his wings of the undead to swiftly retreat while simultaneously breaking the soul lock. The frost dragon pursued relentlessly, clearly not intending to let Lin Moyu go. It flapped its dragon wings, moving extremely fast, no slower than Lin Moyu. With space sealed off, Lin Moyu temporarily couldn't use space laws and could only rely on the wings of the undead to dodge. At the same time, he asked, "Why are you attacking me?" The frost dragon's voice carried anger. "You are an enemy of the dragon race, you must die." Lin Moyu thought for a moment and understood why. It was because he had killed many dragons before. The dragon race had a special characteristic: if someone killed them, their aura would cling to the killer. Only the dragon race could see this aura, and it wouldn't disappear even after thousands or tens of thousands of years. Although the dragons in the small world were mixed-blood dragons separated by who knows how many generations, this characteristic of the dragon race was still inherited. Back then, it was because of this that he was hunted by those mixed-blood dragons. He didn't expect that even in the great world, he would still be hunted because of this. Lin Moyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Because of Antares, he didn't want to directly fight these dragons. After all, these were elemental dragons, already formal members of the dragon race. Killing them was different from killing mixed-blood dragons. Killing mixed-blood dragons didn't have much impact, but if he killed true dragon race members, the dragon race would likely attack en masse. Their attitude towards the insect race showed what the dragon race's attitude towards outsiders was like. Lin Moyu wasn't afraid, but if he really had to kill, he wanted to wait until Antares came out to kill together. Lin Moyu said, "Can we stop and talk properly?" The frost dragon didn't speak, continuing to chase and kill Lin Moyu. Countless icy arrows formed from the frost shot through space like raindrops towards Lin Moyu. This attitude clearly showed it wanted to kill Lin Moyu. If there was anything to say, it would be said after killing him. But how could they talk after he was dead? Lin Moyu's anger gradually rose. The other's realm was only high-level Divine Venerable, about Divine Venerable rank 7 if calculated carefully. If he wanted to kill it, it would take just a second. But after careful consideration, thinking of Antares and the dragon god he had briefly met before, Lin Moyu still held back. After some thought, he had an idea. A dragon's roar suddenly sounded from within his body. Then, an illusory 9-colored divine dragon appeared above his head, roaring at the frost dragon. He had summoned the 9-colored dragon soul crystal. The dragon soul crystal was a supreme treasure of the dragon race. If an outsider could obtain a dragon soul crystal, it meant they had gained the approval of the dragon race's upper echelons. Being able to obtain a 5-colored dragon soul crystal already meant being a friend of the dragon race. Obtaining a 7-colored one represented an extremely close relationship with the dragon race. In human history, those who could obtain dragon soul crystals could be counted on one hand. Someone like Lin Moyu possessing a 9-colored dragon soul crystal was absolutely impossible. Even the heavenly venerables of ancient times couldn't obtain a 9-colored dragon soul crystal. The implications were self-evident. When the 9-colored dragon soul crystal appeared, the frost dragon immediately stopped, standing dumbfounded in space. Lin Moyu also stopped. Man and dragon were separated by 10,000 miles, staring at each other. The frost dragon finally spoke. "How do you have a 9-colored dragon soul crystal?" The voice was crisp, actually female. "Oh no, female dragon." Antares had said before that genders in the dragon race were referred to as male and female dragons. And he had also said that some female dragons in the dragon race could be terrifying when they went berserk. At the time he had complained a lot, even talking about his romantic history. But afterwards Antares firmly denied saying those things, insisting Lin Moyu had misheard. Lin Moyu finally experienced what a berserk female dragon was like. This frost dragon just now was almost in a berserk state. Perhaps she was too excited from fighting the insect race and somewhat lost control. Lin Moyu said, "The dragon god gave it to me." The dragon soul crystal was indeed given by the dragon god. The dragon god had given a 7-colored one, which Antares forcibly upgraded to 9 colors. The dragon race never gave out 9-colored dragon soul crystals to outsiders. Antares naturally knew this, but the frost dragon before him might not necessarily know. Lin Moyu was betting she didn't know. After all, she was at the bottom level of the dragon race. How would she know about matters of the upper echelons? The frost dragon indeed didn't know that the dragon race never gave out 9-colored dragon soul crystals. She muttered, "What relationship do you have with the dragon god?" Lin Moyu looked at her and snorted lightly, narrowing his eyes at the female dragon before him. "You don't have the right to know these things." "You." The female dragon was furious but didn't know what to say for a moment. "Then do I have the right to know?" Chapter 2095. 2095. Chapter 2095. Thank you, Brother Lin. A loud voice echoed through the starry sky, causing ripples even in the sealed space. Saint Venerable. Lin Moyu was slightly startled in his heart. He looked over at the sound and saw a huge dragon covered in radiant light flying over. Holy dragon. Lin Moyu recognized at a glance that this was a holy dragon. Holy dragons ranked in the middle tier of the dragon race, higher than elemental dragons but lower than true divine dragons. However, they already had the possibility of advancing to become divine dragons, so their actual status was not low. They possessed some real authority, with many elemental dragons under their command. This holy dragon before him had reached the Saint Venerable realm and was considered a powerful being even among holy dragons. His strength was not inferior to that of ordinary divine dragons, and he was already on the path to transforming into a divine dragon. It was estimated that he would become a divine dragon in the future. Lin Moyu silently thanked Antares, who had once told him about the internal structure of the dragon race, allowing him to understand what holy dragons meant. As a mid-level existence, although a Saint Venerable, he didn't need to be too polite. Moreover, being only mid-level, he wouldn't know too much. Lin Moyu was not flustered at all. Suddenly, he felt this holy dragon seemed somewhat familiar. The holy dragon's eyes also seemed to flash with a strange look. You're Shengguang. You're Lin Moyu. Man and dragon spoke in unison, calling out each other's names. Lin Moyu hadn't expected such a coincidence, to encounter an old dragon acquaintance even here. Back in the Dragon King Palace instance, Shengguang had left a good impression on him, considered a good dragon of upright character. Shengguang could also sense the aura on Lin Moyu's body. The dragon resentment on you is from killing those mixed-blood dragons in the small world, right? Lin Moyu nodded, yes. I'll help you clear it. He spat out a beam of white light. Lin Moyu didn't dodge or avoid it, allowing the light to shine on him. He felt as if something had disappeared, knowing this was the so-called dragon resentment. The resentment left on the killer's body after dragons are killed. The more dragons killed, the heavier the resentment. Lin Moyu had killed a great many mixed-blood dragons. Fortunately, they were only mixed-blood dragons with impure bloodlines, so the dragon resentment wasn't actually that much. Soon the dragon resentment was completely cleared. Shengguang said, it's done. The resentment from the mixed-blood dragons has all been removed. Lin Moyu smiled and said, thanks. Shengguang said, I didn't expect you to come to the great world. Your cultivation speed is really fast, already a divine venerable. No wonder the dragon god values you so highly and praised you as a rare genius. Lin Moyu was very modest, the dragon god is too kind. Shengguang frowned and said, but, I remember the dragon soul crystal the dragon god gave you was a 7-colored one. Suddenly, Shengguang seemed to realize something and immediately exclaimed, I know, don't say it, I don't want to hear it. Lin Moyu smiled. What a clever dragon. Lin Moyu put away the 9-colored dragon soul crystal and changed the subject. Many years ago, you were already at war with the insect race. How come after fighting for so many years, there's still no victor? Shengguang glanced at the battlefield. Even if we fought for another 100,000 years, there'd be no victor. Anyway, this isn't your business, it's our dragon race's own affair. Actually, fighting like this is quite good. It's a kind of training for the little ones in the clan. Lin Moyu heard the hidden meaning in Shengguang's words, but obviously he didn't want to say more. Lin Moyu was also tactful enough not to ask further. Lin Moyu asked, is there anything I can help with? Shengguang shook his head, no need. We can handle things here. I've heard your human race has been having quite a bit of trouble lately. You should be careful. Lin Moyu made a sound of agreement, thank you for your concern. I'll be careful. The battlefield suddenly changed drastically. The elemental dragons that had been surrounding and attacking the insect race frantically retreated. A ball of green light exploded, transforming into a green sea spreading in all directions. All the dragons were retreating, avoiding the green light. Shengguang's eyes narrowed, and he roared angrily, it's the insect mother's bone-corroding sea. Retreat quickly. Actually, there was no need for Shengguang to say anything. All the elemental dragons were already retreating. Lin Moyu also retreated along with them. Clearly the bone-corroding sea was terrifying. It was best not to touch it if possible. Lin Moyu sensed a strange power from the bone-corroding sea. It didn't seem like a law, nor did it seem like a rule. He couldn't describe it. He had never seen such a power before. The bone-corroding sea was boundless, occupying billions of miles of space. Its area was large enough to cover several star systems, even vaster than his own bone hell. If the bone-corroding sea appeared in human territory, who knows how many people would die. The bone-corroding sea expanded to its limit. Shengguang let out a dragon roar, "Be careful, they're coming." All the elemental dragons became alert, flapping their dragon wings and staring intently at the green bone-corroding sea. The sea surface bubbled, then the bubbles burst. Countless giant insects over 1,000 meters long burst out of the sea, pouncing towards the elemental dragons. These insects were all high-level divine venerables, extremely powerful. The elemental dragons were prepared and spat out various colored dragon breaths, engulfing the giant insects. Shengguang didn't move. As a saint venerable holy dragon, it wasn't yet time for him to take action. Lin Moyu looked at the bone-corroding sea, finding it stranger the more he looked. This doesn't seem to be a power of the great world. The bone-corroding sea didn't belong to any law, nor did it belong to any rule. Lin Moyu thought of the cultivators from the Black Blood Great Realm. The power of the Black Blood Great Realm seemed similarly special. Shengguang's voice sounded, "Indeed, it's not from the great world." Halfway through his sentence, Shengguang suddenly stopped speaking. He seemed to realize he had misspoken and didn't continue. But this half-sentence was enough. Lin Moyu already knew the insect race was not from the great world. No wonder there were so few historical records of the insect race. It seems the dragon race knew about this, but for some reason, the dragon race didn't speak of it. Lin Moyu looked at Shengguang meaningfully. Shengguang felt very uncomfortable under his gaze. He suddenly transmitted, "Don't look at me. There are some things I really can't say." Lin Moyu also transmitted, "I know." Antares said the same thing. Shengguang let out a strange cry, "Can you not mention his name?" Lin Moyu chuckled, "What's wrong? Is there some problem with Antares' name?" Shengguang said, "In our dragon race, that name is taboo." Lin Moyu asked, "What happens if I mention it?" Shengguang said, "You'll die. But you have the 9-colored dragon soul crystal. Ordinary divine dragons wouldn't dare touch you. How is he doing?" Lin Moyu chuckled, "He's fine. He should be coming out soon." At these words, Shengguang's whole body bristled, his dragon scales standing on end. He looked at Lin Moyu in disbelief. The huge dragon mouth opened and closed, but he couldn't say a word. Lin Moyu had already gotten the answer he wanted. "As you said, you understand. That's enough." Shengguang nodded vigorously, I understand. I know. Thank you, Brother Lin. Thank you, Brother Lin." Shengguang called Lin, "Brother Lin," in one breath. In just a few sentences, he had already treated Lin Moyu as a brother. The information Lin Moyu provided was very crucial to him. Lin Moyu looked at the bone-corroding sea. "Do you really not need my help?" Shengguang said, No need. We can handle it." Chapter 2096. Chapter 2096. The Insect Mother's Self-Destruction. Shengguang insisted that Lin Moyu's help was not needed and appeared confident. Lin Moyu did not press further. He simply became a bystander, watching the battle between the two races. Countless insects rushed out from the bone-corroding sea, all blocked by the elemental dragons. Although the number of insects far exceeded that of the elemental dragons, their combat power was far inferior. Eventually, they were all wiped out. Then the bone-corroding sea began to shrink rapidly. At the center of the bone-corroding sea, a huge bubble was forming. Shengguang's expression changed slightly. "The insect mother is coming. It's my turn to act. Brother Lin, be careful. The insect mother is very dangerous." Lin Moyu replied, "Don't worry about me. I have the ability to protect myself." He had already sensed the power of the insect mother, which was at the Saint Venerable level, just like Shengguang. But so what? Even if a Saint Venerable wanted to kill him, it wouldn't be that easy. He was just a bystander now, not participating in the battle. The mere aftermath of the battle wouldn't affect him. Moreover, he could observe the true combat power of the insect race. Years ago, his consciousness had accidentally connected to the insect mother, almost getting injured by it. However, that insect mother didn't seem to be the one in front of him now. Lin Moyu was unfamiliar with the insect race and didn't understand their composition. He only knew a little from Antares, knowing that the insect race was a terrifying race. Now he also knew that the insect race was not from the great world but from outside it. Shengguang, cloaked in radiant light, approached the center of the bone-corroding sea and breathed out a thick dragon breath at the bubble that had expanded to its limit. The holy dragon breath fell on the bone-corroding sea, causing thick smoke to rise. Countless mists danced in the starry sky, forming cloud-like objects. The bubble burst, and a massive insect with thousands of tentacles flew out. The insect had hundreds of wings on its back, each incredibly sharp, with a wingspan of over 10,000 meters. Thousands of tentacles, as sharp as magical weapons, danced in the starry sky. Where the tentacles passed, the galaxy shattered, and the starry sky was torn apart with cracks. The bone-corroding sea rapidly shrank, returning to the insect mother's body. Lin Moyu then realized that the boundless bone-corroding sea was actually released by the insect mother. Shengguang and the insect mother clashed, their immense power wantonly raging in the starry sky. All the elemental dragons retreated, not wanting to be caught in the aftermath. So this is the insect mother. Its abdomen is quite large, probably filled with insect eggs. Lin Moyu observed the insect mother, analyzing various possibilities. The insect mother's power was very peculiar, not originating from the great world. At this moment, Lin Moyu also noticed that Shengguang's power seemed special. Although his attacks contained light laws, they were somewhat different from what Lin Moyu knew about light laws. Lin Moyu suddenly realized, so, the dragon race is also not from the great world. Like the insect race, the dragon race was not from the great world. Lin Moyu had a hypothesis. No wonder the dragon race chose to be bystanders regarding the invasion and changes in the great world. Because they were not creatures of the great world, they naturally didn't care about its survival. The dragon race were the true bystanders, watching for millions of years. However, the dragon race had existed since ancient times. Even when the human race was at its peak, they acknowledged the existence of the dragon race, indicating the dragon race had other significance. Like the insect race, the dragon race was shrouded in mystery, making them hard to understand. Perhaps one day, when he was strong enough, he would know everything. Shengguang and the insect mother, both Saint Venerables, clashed, their battle's aftermath tearing through billions of miles of starry sky. Lin Moyu stood amidst the aftermath, his purple-gold body shining brightly, blocking all impacts. Some elemental dragons around him looked at Lin Moyu in surprise. The dragon race had strong physical bodies, and they could feel that Lin Moyu's physical body was no weaker than theirs. One by one, the elemental dragons were curious about Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu ignored their gazes, focusing on the battle between Shengguang and the insect mother. Shengguang fully unleashed his combat power, suppressing the insect mother. The insect mother constantly resisted but was still suppressed. Finally, a huge phantom appeared behind the insect mother, showing a massive insect nest filled with countless insects. The insect nest trembled, and countless insects flew out, pouncing towards Shengguang. This is its rule world. Lin Moyu was slightly surprised. The insect mother had unfolded its rule world. Shengguang let out a dragon roar, and a world also appeared above his head. The world was filled with radiant light, holy and pure as snow. This was Shengguang's rule world, looking sacred and noble. Clusters of white light flew out from the rule world, exploding in the starry sky. In an instant, it seemed as if countless white stars appeared in the starry sky, making it as bright as day. Under the holy light, the insect mother let out a sharp scream. The sound was extremely unpleasant, carrying a soul impact, causing the elemental dragons to show expressions of pain. The gap between Saint Venerables and high-level Divine Venerables was immense. Even a soul impact was hard for them to bear. Only Lin Moyu, also possessing a Saint Venerable level soul, was unaffected. Seeing the elemental dragons roaring in pain, Lin Moyu drew a rune with his hand. High-level rune, soul-stabilizing rune. Its function was to stabilize the soul and reduce external soul impacts. Lin Moyu didn't know if it would work, but he tried anyway. Soul-stabilizing runes flew out, exploding in the starry sky. Each soul-stabilizing rune could cover a large area, and the elemental dragons within its range showed reduced expressions of pain. Although they still had to endure the soul impact, it was much more bearable. It seems to work. Lin Moyu continued drawing soul-stabilizing runes, scattering them in various areas. He multitasked, drawing faster and faster, sending out soul-stabilizing runes like snowflakes. The elemental dragons protected by the soul-stabilizing runes cast grateful glances at Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu didn't feel much. He just acted according to his conscience, regardless of anything else. Shengguang and the insect mother fought for half an hour, their rule worlds clashing until a victor emerged. The insect mother's rule world began to dissolve under Shengguang's holy light. The insect mother screamed even more frantically, but it was futile. It seemed unable to escape its final fate. Suddenly, the insect mother's body began to swell. Shengguang's urgent voice rang out, "Run, it's going to self-destruct." A Saint Venerable's self-destruction was terrifying. All the elemental dragons immediately flew away, fleeing for their lives. Lin Moyu had experienced a Saint Venerable's real-world self-destruction before and knew its terror. He also fled. But after glancing at Shengguang, Lin Moyu made a decision. Although he was fleeing, he moved in the same direction as Shengguang. Without the use of space laws, Lin Moyu's speed was not as fast as Shengguang's. The gap between a Saint Venerable and a Divine Venerable was immense. The three-light talisman on his body lit up, and Lin Moyu's speed suddenly increased, catching up with Shengguang. Shengguang shouted, "What are you doing here?" Lin Moyu smiled, "I'm here to help you." Boom! A strong explosion shook the starry sky, shattering it. The insect mother's body and its real world exploded together, transforming into a green sea that swept out. The green sea carried terrifying corrosive power, even corroding space itself. Shengguang was enveloped in white light, resisting the green sea. Lin Moyu took out the golden sword. The runes on the golden sword flashed, weaving a huge shield that protected him from all angles. Lin Moyu and Shengguang, closest to the insect mother, bore the brunt of the impact. The other elemental dragons were relatively better off, using all their strength to protect themselves. Space completely shattered, and spatial chaos erupted, with Shengguang being the first to be swept into it. This was the moment Lin Moyu had been waiting for. With the space laws shattered, the laws were restored. Chapter 2097. 2097. Chapter 2097. This world has no future. The insect mother's self-destruction not only destroyed space, but also destroyed various restrictions. Originally, the dragon race had sealed off space to prevent the insect race from escaping, but now it was all destroyed in the insect mother's self-destruction. The Saint Venerable's self-destruction triggered turbulence in deep space, which even Saint Venerables found difficult to resist. The first to be swept in was Shengguang, who was closest, and the second was Lin Moyu, who had deliberately moved closer. Lin Moyu had experience with deep space turbulence, and with his mastery of space laws, he knew how to deal with it. Fully activating space laws, combined with the effect of the three-light talisman, formed a weak space-time power, giving Lin Moyu some room to maneuver in the space turbulence. Shengguang had already been swept away by the space turbulence, his huge body tumbling in the chaotic flow, temporarily losing control. Lin Moyu came to his side. Despite their vast difference in size, Lin Moyu used all his strength to materialize a giant hand and firmly grasped Shengguang. "Go!" With a shout, he fully unleashed his laws and threw Shengguang out of the turbulent deep space. At the same time, he took several steps himself to escape the turbulence. Lin Moyu didn't stop there, rushing to another area to pull back several other elemental dragons that had been swept into the space turbulence. Fortunately, the elemental dragons had been far away at the time and had fled quickly enough, so not many were swept into the turbulence. Shengguang stabilized himself and watched as Lin Moyu pulled back one elemental dragon after another. He knew that being swept into space turbulence likely wouldn't result in death, but where one would end up was unknown. They might end up at the edge of the world, millions of light years away. He was a Saint Venerable and might be able to return. But for those Divine Venerables, once they lost their way, it might take thousands or tens of thousands of years to return. Though not life-saving, Lin Moyu's actions were certainly helpful. Combined with the earlier help from the soul-stabilizing runes, the elemental dragons all looked at Lin Moyu with goodwill. At least they acknowledged Lin Moyu. The aftershocks of the Saint Venerable's self-destruction gradually subsided, and the shattered space began to repair itself, though the repair process was slow and would take some time. The entire starry sky was still in a chaotic state, with spatial turbulence and spatial rifts everywhere. If a weaker Divine Venerable came here, they might be affected or even injured. Shengguang's body was enveloped in brilliant light. Within the light, his body rapidly shrank, eventually transforming into human form. Lin Moyu was curious why Shengguang had changed into human form. And how he did it. This clearly wasn't the first time, as the whole process was very smooth and natural. Even after transforming into human form, he was already dressed. Even if he could transform himself, surely the clothes couldn't transform too. The clothes fit perfectly, as if tailor-made, and were very luxurious, embroidered with many divine dragon patterns, seemingly flaunting his status. In human form, Shengguang was handsome and tall, standing at 2 meters. Except for a pair of dragon horns on his head, he looked entirely human from head to toe. Lin Moyu looked at Shengguang with a strange expression. Shengguang smiled and said, "Don't be surprised, you might understand in the future." Clearly, this was another matter that couldn't be discussed, and Lin Moyu didn't bother to ask further. Since learning that the dragon race was not native to the Great World, Lin Moyu had many speculations about their origins. The most likely scenario was that the dragon race, like the insect race, came from a world outside, and not one that had been conquered by the Great World. It was just unclear in what capacity they had come to the Great World. The dragon race had existed for so many years, seemingly always watching the development of the Great World. Lin Moyu had already probed Shengguang before, asking roundabout questions and obtaining some information to support his guesses. Now he asked again, "Senior Shengguang, what exactly is the world outside like?" Shengguang, in human form, waved his hand, "Don't call me senior, I like you. In our dragon race terms, you're very much to my taste. Let's call each other brothers. If you don't mind, call me Big Brother." Lin Moyu immediately changed his form of address, "Brother Shengguang." Shengguang laughed heartily, "Good, Brother Moyu. As for your question just now, Big Brother can't tell you. If you want to know, go out and see for yourself. Big Brother believes you definitely have a way. If not, wait until I become a divine dragon, and you still have." Shengguang didn't continue, but gave Lin Moyu a meaningful look. Lin Moyu understood immediately, knowing that Shengguang was certainly under many restrictions and couldn't say certain things. However, from his words, much information had already been revealed. First, it confirmed Lin Moyu's guess that the dragon race indeed came from outside the world, and they had their own purpose for coming to this world. Moreover, Shengguang believed Lin Moyu could go out, and even if he couldn't, when Shengguang became a true divine dragon, he would have a way to take Lin Moyu out. Shengguang had also obliquely mentioned Antares. Without naming names, just a look was enough for Lin Moyu to understand. Shengguang meant that with Antares around, Lin Moyu didn't need to worry about whether he could leave or not. Lin Moyu looked at the tens of thousands of elemental dragons around. Can all members of the dragon race transform into human form? Shengguang shook his head, at least Saint Venerable realm is required. Lin Moyu understood. Shengguang was surrounded by rule power, and the human transformation was related to rule power. Moreover, the rule power couldn't be too weak. Other shore realm wasn't enough, it had to be Saint Venerable. Rule power flowed around Shengguang's body, silently forming a barrier that prevented their conversation from spreading outward. "Brother Moyu, listen to Big Brother. This world has no hope. You'd better make plans early." Lin Moyu's eyebrows twitched slightly, but he feigned ignorance. "Why does Big Brother say that?" Shengguang lowered his voice, "I can't tell you the specific reasons, but what I can tell you is that this world has lost its future. In at most 1400 years, this world will face a world-ending crisis. You need to cultivate to the other shore realm as quickly as possible. Let me calculate the time, by then I should be close to advancing too. At that time, even if that person hasn't come out, I can take you away. 1400 years, wasn't that the time when another world would collide with the Great World?" The dragon race actually knew about this, clearly knowing far more than Lin Moyu had imagined. Lin Moyu asked, "Only 1400 years left?" Shengguang said, "That's right, 1400 years at most. No matter what method you use, you must reach the other shore realm within 1400 years. With your cultivation speed, little brother, it shouldn't be a problem." Lin Moyu's cultivation speed was very fast, far beyond the understanding of anyone in the Great World. Anyone who knew Lin Moyu's age would be incredibly shocked. Shengguang knew how long Lin Moyu had been cultivating, but he was only slightly surprised. It seemed he could accept Lin Moyu's cultivation speed. At the same time, from his words, Lin Moyu felt that using 1400 years to cultivate from Divine Venerable to other shore realm seemed to be acceptable to Shengguang. If others heard this, they would definitely think it was a fantasy. Who could cultivate from Divine Venerable to other shore in just over 1000 years? Is the cultivation speed in the dragon race all this fast? Lin Moyu thought to himself, while continuing to ask, but there are several Saint Venerables in our human race. Can't they do anything? Shengguang shook his head, Saint Venerables are useless. They'll all die when the time comes, not one can escape. This world will be destroyed. Except for a few people, everyone in this world will die. Chapter 2098. 2098. Chapter 2098. The rule world does not stop at perfection. Shengguang had already sentenced the Great World to death in his heart. The Great World would have no more hope, and everything would come to an end. When the time came, except for a few people, everything in the great world would perish. Whether human or other races. Whether divine Venerable or Saint Venerable. Everything in the great world would be erased. The few people he mentioned were those who had obtained dragon soul crystals before. From 3-colored to 9-colored dragon soul crystals, as long as someone had obtained a dragon soul crystal, it meant they had gained the recognition of the dragon race. When the time came, they would have the qualification to live, while others could only wait for death. Lin Moyu asked if there was still a chance to save the great world, but Shengguang firmly answered that there was no chance. Lin Moyu didn't argue. He knew Shengguang wasn't talking nonsense, but from his perspective, the great world truly had no future. He wanted to get more information from Shengguang, but Shengguang began to keep his mouth shut and said no more. He had already said too much and couldn't say any more. In fact, he shouldn't have said even this much. He was willing to tell Lin Moyu mainly because he liked Lin Moyu and felt they had a connection. Shengguang reminded Lin Moyu again to reach the other shore realm within 1400 years, then left with the dragon race. Watching them disappear into the starry sky, Lin Moyu stood there with a flickering gaze, muttering to himself, "Brother Shengguang, what you know is not everything. Someone has already foreseen the future of the great world and made arrangements. That person is someone even Heavenly Venerable's fear. He said the great world still has a future." Besides this, Lin Moyu had another thought in his heart. I also believe the great world still has a future. His belief was unshakable. He didn't think the great world was doomed to destruction. Heaven never seals off all paths. There was still a glimmer of hope. Lin Moyu believed that anything could have a turning point. It just depended on whether one could find the turning point. He summoned the warship again. The warship's surface had many cracks from the previous impact, but fortunately, it hadn't affected the internal arrays. The warship could still navigate in deep space without any issues. Lin Moyu summoned a set of sigil arrays from the treasure ship's storage. These were the arrays he had personally drawn to refine sigil artifacts. Flames burned fiercely at the center of the sigil array. Lin Moyu used the array to envelop the warship. Then he began to draw numerous sigils to strengthen the warship. With the experience of repairing and strengthening the golden sword, Lin Moyu's technique in strengthening and repairing the warship was much more proficient now. Sigils flew out one by one, landing on the warship, then being imprinted into the warship through the refining flames of the sigil array. The warship's shell originally had an array, set up by Old Flame, but its defensive power wasn't very strong. Now Lin Moyu added a completely new sigil array on top of the original array. The combination of the two arrays directly increased the warship's defensive power by a level. Even if attacked by another shore realm being, the warship could at least withstand a few hits, giving Lin Moyu enough time to put it away. At present, this warship was still very useful, or rather, the space array inside the warship was very useful. With his space law, Lin Moyu could enter deep space on his own, but he didn't yet have the ability to navigate quickly in deep space. If he waited until his space law became stronger, not to mention using space gates, once he could move freely in deep space, he could discard this warship. The warship became Lin Moyu's second sigil artifact. He had given it a shell, making it a semi-finished product. After finishing, the warship was covered in sigils, looking more substantial. He activated it again, entering deep space, flying towards the inner domain space. This trip to the outer domain space was considered successful for Lin Moyu. He had originally been worried about whether Red Star Supreme would be willing to help, but Red Star Supreme was not only willing but also mentioned the 10,000 star Grand Array. Later, he encountered the dragon race and learned some secrets. The secrets of the great world seemed to reveal another tip of the iceberg. Next, I need to focus on cultivation and increase my strength as much as possible. In 1400 years, I not only need to reach the other shore realm but also try to reach the Saint Venerable realm if possible. If my talent hasn't weakened, perhaps I could fight a supreme one-on-one, which could also share some pressure. The gap between Saint Venerable and Supreme was huge. Lin Moyu didn't know if he could challenge a Supreme across realms once he reached Saint Venerable. Perhaps he could, perhaps not. Either way, he had to try to know. In fact, Lin Moyu had another plan, but for now, this plan couldn't be implemented. If the plan succeeded, then not only would the great world not perish, but there might even be a chance to devour that world, plunder its origin, and find an opportunity to establish a new divine path. But for now, that plan was still far off. At least he had to wait until he reached the other shore realm. Besides cultivation, I also need to prepare some backup plans. In case Red Star Supreme is wrong, and there are more than 10 Supremes in that world. Or if the 10,000 star Grand Array isn't effective enough, we must have backup plans to deal with it. Lin Moyu considered many possibilities. He couldn't put all his eggs in one basket. As they got closer to the inner domain space, the Starlight Law began to become more active. Starlight refinement started operating again, refining starlight and condensing stars. The stars illuminated his soul, making the form of his rule world more complete and powerful. When it came time to truly construct his rule world, he would have a higher chance of constructing a perfect level rule world. A perfect level rule world was one of the foundations for ascending to Heavenly Venerable. If one couldn't even reach the perfect level in their rule world, there was no hope of becoming a Heavenly Venerable, even if they understood the virtual and real and saw the essence of the world. The mysterious master had told Lin Moyu that constructing a perfect rule world was very important and could not be neglected. Lin Moyu now somewhat understood the true purpose of the world tree fruit. It allowed one to give birth to the form of a rule world at the divine venerable realm, enabling people to come into contact with the rule world earlier and perfect and strengthen it. This laid a solid foundation for constructing the rule world in the future. With the form of the rule world, it was equivalent to opening the door to Saint Venerable. As long as one wasn't too unlucky, entering Saint Venerable was a certainty. Unfortunately, the world tree fruit matured too slowly. So far, there had only been one, which he had eaten. Lin Moyu examined his soul world and already had some ideas about the rule world he would construct in the future. As his horizons continued to expand and improve, his ideas about the rule world also kept changing and improving. Initially, he had only thought of using the undying law to construct a rule world that was half gray and half white, half life and half death. Later, after understanding the virtual and real and seeing the true world, he felt he should add virtual and real characteristics to the rule world. After obtaining Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's inheritance, he wanted to add various sigils to the rule world to evolve countless possibilities. Now, after seeing the boundary sea, he had a new understanding of his rule world. Lin Moyu felt he was being a bit too ambitious and somewhat unrealistic. But the brief experience of the boundary sea kept surfacing, making him feel he must do this. He even had an even more absurd thought. Perhaps the rule world is not limited to perfection. He felt that there might be higher levels of existence for rule worlds. Since it was a world of rules defined by humans, why couldn't he define it himself? Just as he was lost in thought, a series of mournful calls entered the warship. Chapter 2099, 2099. Chapter 2099, The Supreme's Rule World. Fight 100 battles and die 10,000 deaths without regret, the soul returns to the old land but cannot rest in peace. The voice was tragic and stirring, shaking people's hearts. The runes on the warship flickered brightly, and its speed became slower and slower. The tragic voice disturbed space, turning the entire space into a viscous state, making it difficult for the warship to fly. Lin Moyu was startled awake, feeling an indescribable sadness. Not just sadness, but also a heavy pain within the sadness. That kind of pain felt like someone was gripping his heart, preventing it from beating. Though not as painful as soul pain, it was even more uncomfortable. What happened? Lin Moyu controlled the warship, leaving deep space. The warship rose, and Lin Moyu saw a tall mountain. He was in the mountain forest. The mountain was over 1,000,000 kilometers high, beyond even Lin Moyu's eyesight. The appearance of such a high mountain in space was unimaginable. Lin Moyu maneuvered the warship towards the mountaintop, but the warship could never reach the true peak. Every time it was about to cross the peak, it was blocked by an invisible force. This force seemed like an array, but was different from an array. Lin Moyu felt somewhat familiar with this sensation. After thinking for a moment, he knew where he had entered. He had entered a rule world. The border he touched was the edge of the rule world, the world barrier, also called the world screen. With his current abilities, it was difficult to break through. Is this a Saint Venerable's rule world, or a Supreme's rule world? Lin Moyu thought to himself. If it was a Saint Venerable's rule world that would be fine, but if it was a Supreme's, that would be much more troublesome. Fight 100 battles and die 10,000 deaths without regret, the soul returns to the old land but cannot rest in peace. Fight 100 battles and die 10,000 deaths without regret, the soul returns to the old land but cannot rest in peace. The tragic voice echoed in the rule world, making people's hearts ache more and more. Lin Moyu endured the discomfort and depression, flying in another direction. After passing the mountain before him, he saw an even more shocking scene. Mountains, countless mountains, tens or hundreds of thousands of mountains, forming an ocean composed purely of mountain forests. The warship flew through the mountain forests, which seemed endless, spanning billions of miles, comparable to a galaxy. This is a Supreme's rule world. Lin Moyu sighed, his expression not looking good. A Saint Venerable's rule world couldn't be this large. Only a Supreme's rule world could reach this scale. As for whether it could be a Heavenly Venerable's rule world, Lin Moyu thought it unlikely. This rule world had already lost its vitality, clearly left behind after death in battle. Although Heavenly Venerables also fought in ancient times, there were no records of any Heavenly Venerables dying in battle. Lin Moyu could only pray this was a Supreme's rule world, not a Heavenly Venerables, otherwise it would be even more troublesome. The warship flew for a long time without reaching the edge. Lin Moyu tried sending out skeleton divine generals to explore this rule world, just like exploring a secret realm. The skeleton divine generals flew in all directions, quickly sending back information. The skeleton divine generals discovered some unusual places. Lin Moyu immediately rushed over, helplessly finding that his space law had failed again. In the rule world, all rules were set by the master of the rule world. Plus, his mastery of space law wasn't very strong, so it was normal for it to fail. Lin Moyu arrived at the place where the anomaly was discovered. He saw a tombstone. Words were carved on the tombstone. My name is Yuan Hao, a divine venerable of the human race. Accidentally fell into this realm, searched everywhere but found no way out. Cannot cultivate in this realm. Every 10 years there is a rainbow absorption event, absorbing flesh, realm, and lifespan. This venerable is unwilling to let thousands of years of cultivation become someone else's wedding dress, so I end my life here. Erecting this tombstone is a warning to future generations. If you can find a way out, please help bring my body back and bury it in human territory. Lin Moyu sighed after reading the tombstone, surprised to find it was the tombstone of a human divine venerable. Through the tombstone's record, he could roughly deduce what had happened. Divine Venerable Yuan Hao had entered the outer realm to explore, but accidentally entered this place. He didn't know he had entered a rule world, and no matter how he searched, he couldn't find a way out. Moreover, every 10 years there would be a rainbow absorption phenomenon here, absorbing flesh, power, and lifespan. He believed someone was absorbing and devouring him. After many times, he might fall from Divine Venerable, unable to maintain even his realm, eventually falling to God King, true God, until death. For someone who had cultivated to Divine Venerable, this was naturally unacceptable. So with no other options, he chose suicide and left this tombstone. The tombstone was both a warning and a last glimmer of hope. Hoping that one day, someone could bring his remains back. After all, he was a Divine Venerable. His remains wouldn't decay even after 100,000 years. But when Lin Moyu looked, there were no remains here. There were no creatures in the surrounding forests either. No beasts would have eaten his remains. If there were beasts, he would certainly have mentioned it on the tombstone. No beasts. Lin Moyu's eyes showed a hint of relief. This should not be a Heavenly Venerable's rule world. The reason for this judgment was that Heavenly Venerables could already create living beings. Though not creating from nothing, they could at least fuse and create new species of living beings. So Lin Moyu was 90% certain that in a Heavenly Venerable's rule world, there would definitely be strong vitality. Strong vitality would give birth to various weak living beings. The appearance of beasts and such would be correct. Not being a Heavenly Venerable's rule world, Lin Moyu relaxed a bit. He reached out his hand and grabbed, causing soil and rocks to fly. There was nothing under the tombstone, no remains. The remains are gone. A Divine Venerable's remains couldn't vanish into thin air. Even after 1,000,000 years, there would still be remnants. Now that the remains were gone, it could only mean that the rainbow absorption mentioned in the tombstone didn't spare even the corpse, absorbing it until not even dregs remained. Rainbow absorption, what exactly is it? Lin Moyu thought to himself. At this moment, the skeleton divine generals sent news again, making another new discovery. Lin Moyu immediately rushed over. This discovery was larger in scale, a group of houses built from trees. There were over a dozen houses, with traces of habitation. Judging from the style of the houses, those who lived here were not just humans, but other races as well. However, now the people here were all gone. Lin Moyu searched house by house, finally making a new discovery in one of them. On the wood of this house, a large number of words were recorded, in human script. This time the text was more detailed, with accurate time records. The person who carved the text was called Du Zhenggran, a human divine venerable who had reached divine venerable rank 7. About 2000 years ago he accidentally entered this realm and tried every means but could not leave. In the 3rd year after he entered, the rainbow absorption appeared, absorbing part of his realm. Because he was a high-level divine venerable, his perception was more obvious. About 100 years of lifespan was absorbed, and his realm dropped somewhat. A divine venerable rank 7's lifespan was at most over 5,000 years, and he was already over 2,000 years old at the time. In other words, he would die of old age here after just 30 rainbow absorptions. Later he discovered that even 30 absorptions was optimistic. As the number of absorptions increased, his realm kept falling, and his lifespan was also falling. He could at most endure a dozen absorptions, about 100 years. In these 100 years, he encountered some other divine venerables who had accidentally entered this place. Some were human, some were from other races. They died one by one due to the absorptions. He finally ended his own life when he was about to fall from divine venerable. Chapter 2100, 2100. Chapter 2100. No one escapes, a world of despair. Du Zhenggran's records made Lin Moyu feel a chill down his spine. His words were filled with despair. He was the last to die among these people. The others either died due to the rainbow absorption or couldn't bear it and ended their own lives. All those who came here were divine venerables. Regardless of their race, no one could accept the fate of their realm falling and becoming a cripple. Lin Moyu checked other houses but found no records like Du Zhenggran's. However, there were traces of life, indicating that the people here were filled with despair at that time. What puzzled Lin Moyu the most was that during the decades they were here, these divine venerables from various races did not engage in large-scale fights but lived peacefully together. This was very unusual, especially for races like humans and demons, who were sworn enemies and would not coexist peacefully under any circumstances. Even when facing a life and death crisis, they would first fight to the death upon meeting. Could there be some restriction on fighting here? Lin Moyu's heart stirred, thinking of a possibility. He had a skeleton divine general attack the mountain forest. The attack was not strong, less than 1% of the skeleton divine general's full power. 100-meter tall, 10-meter thick tree was split in two by the sword energy, falling with a roar. Here, any mountain was so tall that its peak couldn't be seen, and its width was hard to estimate. The mountains were high, and the trees were large. In the mountain forest, a 100-meter tall, 10-meter thick tree was just a sapling. Here, trees hundreds of meters thick and so tall their tops couldn't be seen were everywhere. With the roar, the tree fell, and then there was no further movement. Lin Moyu looked at the wooden houses, which were also made from large trees. It seemed they hadn't encountered any trouble at that time. Could it really be possible to coexist peacefully? Lin Moyu naturally didn't believe such nonsense and issued another order. The skeleton divine general used half its strength to unleash a stronger attack. A massive sword energy blasted out, hitting the mountain forest. The mountain was blasted open with a huge hole, and countless large trees were blown away. Although this wound was nothing to the entire mountain, and even more insignificant to the entire mountain range, in Lin Moyu's view, the commotion was already very intense, even causing the ground he stood on to shake. Moments later, the shaking stopped, and apart from the huge pit on the mountain, nothing else happened. Could I be wrong? If fighting were allowed here, it wouldn't be possible to coexist peacefully. Lin Moyu still didn't believe it and issued a new order. Two skeleton divine generals suddenly fought each other, attacking each other. This time, they still used half their strength, which wouldn't be enough to kill each other. As they fought, the real world finally reacted. A roaring sound came from the sky, and then two unimaginable forces descended, accurately hitting the two skeleton divine generals. The two skeleton divine generals were instantly pinned to the ground, unable to move, unable to even stand up. Lin Moyu understood. In this real world, one could attack the mountains but not other living beings. Lin Moyu tried several times, having the skeleton divine generals use their full strength to attack the mountains. The mountains were blasted full of holes, and countless giant trees were destroyed, but there was still no punishment. Only the two skeleton divine generals that had fought earlier remained pinned to the ground, unable to move. After understanding the rules, Lin Moyu felt even more puzzled. Why is it like this? Such rules must have a reason. Lin Moyu knew that everything had cause and effect. If he wanted to leave here, he had to find the cause and effect. But with the information he had now, it was difficult to find the correct cause and effect. Over countless years, many people must have entered this rule world, but no one had ever escaped, at least no humans had. If someone had, there would definitely be records in the Human Emperor's network. Those who died here should have left some information in their despair. This information might be helpful to him. The rainbow absorption occurred once every 10 years. He didn't know how long it would be until the next one. Lin Moyu didn't know if he could withstand the rainbow absorption. After all, this was a Supreme's rule world, and he wasn't confident. Even if he could withstand the rainbow absorption, so what? He couldn't sense any laws here and couldn't cultivate. Eventually, he would die of old age here. It was just a matter of time. Moreover, he didn't have much time to waste here. If he delayed for 1,000 years, it would be too late when he got out. I must find a way out as soon as possible. Lin Moyu sent out more skeleton divine generals to explore. This world was too large. He had been here for half a day, and the skeleton divine generals had only explored a tiny fraction. Determined, Lin Moyu sent out all 5 billion skeleton divine generals to explore in all directions. The map of the rule world gradually became clearer, and finally, there was a new discovery. The skeleton divine generals found a curvature while flying, leading Lin Moyu to guess that this rule world was an enormous sphere. A spherical rule world was normal, but this sphere was excessively large, larger than a galaxy. Its diameter was unmeasurable. The skeleton divine generals spread out, flying in a grid pattern to avoid missing any traces. Finally, there was another new discovery, and Lin Moyu rushed over immediately. It was an enormous stone tablet. The stone tablet was tens of thousands of meters long and wide, square, made from stones from the high mountains of the rule world. The stone tablet was covered with numerous inscriptions, written in various languages of different races. Lin Moyu had studied the languages of various races and could understand most of them. Reading the inscriptions, Lin Moyu found that they recorded the experiences of divine venerables from various races who had entered this place. The inscriptions contained the insights of these divine venerables. They had also explored but ultimately failed to leave, though they made some discoveries. They recorded their findings on the stone tablet, hoping that future generations could leave this place. Unfortunately, until the most recent record from 500 years ago, no one had succeeded. The last record was left by a human divine venerable 500 years ago. From the stone tablet, Lin Moyu felt despair again. Despair mixed with unwillingness and hatred, the resentment left by each divine venerable. Each divine venerable who ultimately couldn't leave left their resentment in the inscriptions, and their bodies were gone. Fight 100 battles and die 10,000 deaths without regret, the soul returns to the old land but cannot rest in peace. The tragic sighs echoed in the rule world, making Lin Moyu frown uncomfortably. It wasn't physical discomfort but an emotional one. His emotions were affected by the tragic voice, causing intense fluctuations. These intense fluctuations affected his calm thinking, making him feel despair. Those divine venerables who chose suicide in the end probably did so under the influence of this voice. Lin Moyu felt the voice had intensified since he entered, not because the sound grew louder but because the emotions within it became stronger, as if they were about to explode at any moment. Suppressing his inner discomfort, Lin Moyu carefully read the inscriptions on the stone tablet, trying to stay calm. The inscriptions show that fighting is indeed not allowed here. Any fighting will result in punishment. So here, no matter how deep the hatred, it must be set aside. Currently, apart from the rainbow absorption every 10 years, no other dangers have been discovered. Not discovering doesn't mean there aren't any. Just like those divine venerables couldn't find a way out, it doesn't mean there isn't one. Lin Moyu pondered, glancing at the sky unintentionally. In the sky, at some unknown time, a crescent moon had appeared, a blue crescent moon, exuding a sense of eeriness.